G'day there guys, how can I face my problems if the problem is my face? It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now, if you enjoyed the stories on today's episode, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user 500 Days to Live. Titled, Am I the A-hole for not telling my wife that I am dying? Male, 31 here. For the past 15 years, I've been dealing with a medical condition that requires constant medication and consistent doctor's visits. I had always been projected to live until 50 to 60-ish, however, a recent complication has cut that down to 12 months, 16 at best. In about 10 months, my condition should start getting a lot worse. After 12 months, I'll essentially be living in the hospital. I'm married of 4 years with no kids. I haven't had the heart to tell my wife the news. I don't even know how. We always knew that I'd die younger than I wanted to, but we never expected it to be this soon. As much as I know I should tell my wife, I don't want my last year to be plagued with an impending doom. My wife and I have always talked about living abroad somewhere. Maybe Australia, but we've never found the time or money to do so. I've been saving up to go to graduate school, however, and I don't see much point in that now. So here's my idea. Take some of that money and take my wife to Australia for a few months and enjoy the time together. I have a job I can work remotely from anywhere, and she has a job that can easily find work anywhere. We can work part-time and enjoy our time together. When we get back, or maybe towards the end of it, I will break the news to her. I just wouldn't want the trip to be ruined for us by constant reminders of me dying. I know my wife, and she's very emotional, to the point where I feel like she'll be crying every day and not enjoying herself. I want this memory to be a good one for her, and not plagued by my time ticking down. Am I the a-hole for putting off telling her I am dying? Note, I have life insurance that will take care of her, so I'm not too worried about spending this money now on this trip, and I plan on talking to her about a sperm bank, just in case she wants my kids in the future, as well as premised birthday cards and other things for her to have. Wow, that's not a good idea. That's really not a good idea. Springing that on her at the end of a vacation, that's just a terrible thing to do to someone, let alone your life partner. You should not be doing that to them. This is definitely something you tell her now, you tell her yesterday, you tell as soon as you find out the news because you married this person. They're there to struggle with you in life and in death. I get that this is something that's hard for you and your life is ending and you're scared, but you need support and she's there to give you support. Yeah. It really sucks, and it sucks more not telling her. So, go with the path of more resistance in this case, because the path of least resistance that you're choosing is only going to blow up horribly in both your and her face later on. I'm going with you're the a-hole for this one. And in the comments, Deleted says, I have terminal cancer at 33 years old. I have a spouse and no kids. You need to tell her now. You in turn need to do some serious planning. It looks like you've thought a lot of things through, but you haven't gotten her opinion. That's total bullcrap. You need to plan your end of life together. In regard to your vacation, my spouse and I went to Hawaii a few months ago, and I almost died there due to unexpected cancer complications. I made it home after a very ill-advised plane ride, but we made that decision together. We would both rather that I die at home than scrape a few extra days out in a hospital away from everyone we loved. Ultimately, you and your doctors do not know the day of your death. They may not even know the year. It's their best guess. I'm already 1 month past my expiration date and feeling great. There's a person in my terminal illness support group that is 9 years past his date. How the hell do you think she'll feel if you go downhill in Australia and is stuck there? She will have no one there to help her and comfort her. How will she get your remains back home? How will she plan the funeral? You just saddled her with a mountain of work on top of her grieving. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go, but again, she needs to know and she needs to plan with you. By the way, you really should go. Take the bull by the horns while you can. I'll second that. Great country, great Medicare. In fact, I'm there right now, hooroo. She will need people around her to help her, and they will be able to do a hell of a lot more for her if they know the situation ahead of time. Allow her to confide in her friends and family if she chooses. Trust me, she will find out something is wrong. She will know something is bothering you in a very profound way, but she will not know what. Are you thinking of divorcing her for another lover? Are you going through a depression? There are a million things that might occur to her. Putting her through that is so incredibly unfair. I have a lot more to say about this, as our situations are very similar, but I'll stop here. Reply or PM me if you want to chat more about it. Tyler D123483 says, I wouldn't call you the a-hole, but I mean, like, to break it all on her at once would be a tragic thing to hear. In my opinion, your plan is great to make a great memory and then tell the news, but she definitely needs to know sooner than later. And Winter Badger says, you're the a-hole, because not only will she not forgive you, she'll blame herself for missing the signs you were hiding. She'll convince herself she should have known even with you hiding it, and it will eat her alive. Tell her. Have the conversation. Apologize for waiting this long, and enjoy your last time on this earth with her and make the best of it. And now on to the update. Hey all, I wasn't sure if I was going to make this update, but things are getting gloomier. I feel that I owe you guys the closure you deserve for all the help you gave me, as well as the multiple news stories, lol. Although I didn't respond much, due to everything being so new and overwhelming, I want each of you to know that I read every single comment and message multiple times over the past year and a half. I did end up telling my wife soon after my post. She took it rough, as expected. It ruined me to see her that way, but I knew that I needed to tell her. She did enjoy reading through the original thread though, as many of you had heartwarming thoughts and messages. We took the time that we needed to ensure that she would be set up as best as possible. Following that, we went and spent the best 4 months of my life in Australia. The experience was amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better dying wish. We came back just in time for the pandemic. Honestly, I was scared to death and still am, but somehow I've lasted this long. I've lost much of my strength, and hospice has come in to set up the house and ensure that I'm comfortable enough to die. I had thought that I would be dead by now, so it's hard to complain about getting a little extra time. I've left a large collection of greeting cards in my possession with a friend. Birthdays, first anniversary without me, remarriage, children's birth, and birthdays, if she uses my sperm. I didn't tell her about any of these, just because some of these events aren't guaranteed. But I know that they can help if the time comes around. Overall, I'm content. About as content as I can be. There's a lot of things I would have done differently in life if I had known that this would happen, but that's unfortunately out of my control. However, I do know that I did the most I could have done with the remaining time I was given. I'm just glad that I had the time left while I still had my health, as I know that many aren't as lucky. Thanks again for all of your help. I'll answer any questions you guys have, so long as it isn't personally identifiable, which includes my medical information, as my town paper was thoughtful enough to write an article about me. Just be patient, please. Even typing for long periods of time gets painful. Ex-Opranaut says, I'm so glad you're happy with the choices you made, and send you my best wishes. You reminded me of this article from a few years ago about the top 5 regrets of those approaching the end of their lives. 1. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. 2. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. 3. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. 4. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. And 5. I wish that I had let myself be happier. Reading that made me change my life. I hope it's helpful to others. I'm gonna save those 5 regrets in my notes to try to engage with them because I can already relate strongly to 3 of those. The first is what I do all the time, and it infuriates so many of my friends because I'm not career or work driven. I'm family driven. I volunteer in an op shop 3 days a week, while my son is only 2 and in childcare to get the social skills that he wasn't getting from me. I could be working a paid job, but with how much time I have to take off, if his mental health declines, I'd be jobless. I will build my career as I spend time with him and future kids that I have, not when my friends tell me when I need to build my career. Aussie Belgian says, "Your original post precedes my Reddit start date, so this is my first time reading this. I just wish you all the strength needed to get through this. Your courage is admirable, and best of luck." And Ask Me About My Beer Gut says, "Hey man, I was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma cancer 5 years ago. I fortunately beat it, so far, with immunotherapy drugs. However, I expect it will return before I'm able to live to full retirement. I knew I would be dead within 6 months. It didn't bother me at all though. Here's how I viewed it. We live in the best time in all of human history. You were able to fly 35,000 feet in the air at 400 miles per hour to Australia. No human ever in history up until around 100 years ago ever got to experience such an awe-inspiring thing. You've been able to eat better than any king in the history of humanity. Think about the food available to us today. Imagine how kings thought they ate so good all throughout history. They didn't experience probably 1/100th of the food that you were able to experience in your life. This goes for drink as well. The best things in life are actually the most simple. Hot coffee outside on cool mornings, grilling a great steak with a cold beer while the sky turns orange as the sun sets, kittens purring, puppies playing. My point is this. They estimate there have been around 80 to 100 billion humans who ever lived. Most humans that ever lived are already gone. But you, my friend, lived better than 99.99% of them. You won the human lotto. We all did. Drink a cold one for me, buddy, because I'll be right behind you. We are all right behind you. See you on the other side. Posted by user Lucy Various, titled, "Am I the a-hole for being upset about my birthday?" So I, 24 female, share the exact same birthday with my uncle, 24th of October, and because of this, most of my family forgets about my birthday, and those that don't are more concerned with my uncle's. It's how it's always been. I never got a cake in all my years of living, or a gift in the last 8 years, except for one on my 18th from my own mother, but no one else. Not a card, nor a happy birthday message, which would suffice because it's not about the gifts, it's about the principle of remembering I exist. Because my family couldn't afford it after the gifts for my uncle. Now, I don't hold it against him, because he's the only one who genuinely remembers and gets me a card every year. I'd hope when I'd married my husband, then at least I'd have a family, in-laws, who would remember. But now, I've come to find out that not one person cares about it, even my husband, because my birthday is overshadowed by my niece's 27th October birthday. They're all crowding round her. I don't blame her either, but I got very upset with my husband over this, because not only is he trying to plan out the most extravagant gifts to send her, but when I asked for a card, something so small but really significant to me because I rarely get them, and save the ones I do get forever, he laughed at me and said he needs to save money for the bills, and now he's mad at me for ruining everyone's fun at planning his niece's birthday, and in his own words, putting myself first. I'm actually very saddened by this because now, not only do I have one family who forgets and or doesn't care, now I have 2. Why do I even have a birthday? Or why do I keep hoping the next year will be better? I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. Oh my god. I want to start sending you a bunch of happy birthday cards and gifts and anything because, Jesus, you shouldn't be made to feel so left out. That's so sad, especially by your own husband. What's wrong with putting yourself first on your own birthday? That's not an issue, that's expected. It's your day, it's your special big day. And yes, your niece is allowed to have a day too, but that doesn't mean we don't celebrate your birthday at all. We don't get you anything. What a heartless prick. Like, genuinely, what's his problem? It's his wife. You're supposed to put her above everyone else. The niece is never in any universe more important than your own wife. Get a bloody grip, mate. Definitely not the a-hole for this one. I feel so bad for you, OP. Oh my god. And in the comments, Psychology Genius Throw says, not the a-hole, and please keep your account active. I'll wish you when the day comes. Now, here's what I think. Birthdays are important no matter what age. Birthday is the one day we expect to be appreciated by our family and friends. Your family is the a-hole for ignoring you, and your husband is a bigger a-hole. Significant other's birthday is always an important event, and if he couldn't prioritize yours, you shouldn't prioritize any of his life's important events. Steer clear from celebrating or wishing anyone a birthday. You're still very young. Please find friends and people who genuinely appreciate and treasure you. Your life has just started. Don't stay stuck with people who don't care about your feelings. I'd say not the a-hole. It's not so much to ask to say, happy birthday, I'll cook your favorite meal tonight, or just a simple card. If money really is that tight, writing happy birthday on a napkin would still show effort, and might be memorable later in the future. Thank you. I thought the same. I mean, in monetary terms, he's planning on spending upwards of £200 plus on his niece, so we're really not tight on money at all. But that's not what I care about. It's the fact he won't acknowledge my birthday's existence. Real question, why did you marry him if this was important to you, and you knew he was like this? Because before marriage, he wasn't like this. He used to be super attentive and caring, and I honestly saw zero red flags. But after marriage, it's a different story. I try not to jump and say dump someone, but you are his chosen life partner. You should, other than children, be his first priority. Maybe you two need therapy, but you should find out why you aren't his priority, and then decide what you want to do from there. But you deserve to be someone's priority. I'm seeing more of these posts, and I'm going to say not the a-hole. My birthday is Christmas, and I know what it feels like. It's not my birthday without some sort of trauma or inconvenience. I've had to share birthdays with other cousins, even cake. People have forgotten even when I'm in the same room. It sucks. Maybe it's me being aggressively petty, but I would make my own cake, get me something I love, and if someone asks, I'd say, since no one cares, I'm celebrating myself and no one gets cake. You don't have to do that, but that's me. I told this guy that I was seeing this year that my birthday is really important, and please acknowledge it, as previous boyfriends have either ignored it or ruined it. He sent a terse, happy birthday, via text, and that was it. And it hurt doubly because it was during quarantine, and I couldn't just go celebrate it with anyone else. So I did a birthday photo shoot of myself celebrating my own birthday. He's obviously my ex now, but I've given up hope that any significant other will ever give a crap. Ow, that really hurts to hear. And now on to OP's update, titled, Update, Thank You All So Much. I'm so sorry for not replying sooner to all of you. I was overwhelmed by the messages I got on my birthday, so I thought I'd address them all here. A. What did I do for my birthday? So I ended up buying myself a cake and some Baileys, alcohol, to have a mini celebration. I picked up some face masks, clay masks, along the way with some other bits and bobs, and had a nice little pamper day to myself. I think my husband may have understood I was a bit upset, and what he did was very sweet. He ordered a delivery of a bouquet of pink roses. Quite a large one, and they're my favorite flowers too. And I was the one who answered the door. I was floored by the message that he put with them, which read, "Luciferius, you are the love of my life. Always have been, always will be, XX. And it did make me cry a lot. In a good way. So I'm overjoyed by that simple sentiment alone. I didn't know he ordered them, or how, but I'm just happy about that. B. Did you receive any of the cards? Yes, I did. Thanks to the kindness of Redditors, I got quite a few, and their memories I'll treasure for a long time. So thank you all for this kind gesture to a stranger, because you helped me feel a lot better about the day than I was expecting to feel. 7 cards physically came on my birthday, and all of them had words that I'll hold in my heart. And C, did you enjoy your day? I did. Even though I couldn't do much outside of my house, I had a lovely day, which I don't think I'll forget for a long time. Edit, thank you all. Thank you all so much for the well wishes and messages. I'm floored by the compassion I've been faced with over the last few days from my fellow Redditors. I'm sorry I couldn't reply to everyone, but I hope you understand that I'm very thankful to all of those who have taken their time to upvote, comment, or message me. May you all have good birthdays and many great memories to last. And in the comments, Depuis78 says, Happy birthday. I looked at your previous comments from your previous post and saw that you had 8 siblings. 7 of them are half-siblings, who all received birthday celebrations and cakes. Did your parents ever try explaining why? Or do you have any theories? I'm so angry with your family on your behalf. Thank you. And they did explain many years ago that money was tight around that time of the year, with birthdays and Christmas around the corner. I mean, as a kid, I'm not too sure what I thought back then, but I wasn't happy about it. As an adult now, it's more that I'm accustomed to it than anything else now. To add to this, my mother did in fact send some face masks to me this year, which again, went hand in hand with the spa day, so I'm quite thankful that it was remembered this year by someone in the family. Also, I love the idea of a birthday month. That would be cool to try sometime. Maybe I'll try it on another milestone like my 25th. Wait. So they couldn't afford to do anything for your birthday because there were birthdays and Christmas around the corner? I think my brain short-circuited reading that logic. I was born on my uncle's birthday, 24th of October. It was his 16th when I was born, and I'm sure that grudge is still there. Who mostly got to celebrate instead of me. My dad's birthday is also November 8th, and they usually celebrated it on bonfire night, the 5th, with fireworks. So yeah, I hope this clears up any confusion. The confusion isn't why your birthday is the one to suffer needlessly when apparently everyone else's is well taken care of. This sounds incredibly cruel and intentional, and you seem to be bending over backwards to make excuses for it. They lied to you. They had money. They had time. Just not for you. Disaster Conscious 238 says, I'm so glad you had a good birthday, and I certainly hope all the ones that come next just keep on getting better. Birthdays are the celebration of one's life, and in my family, we believe it's important that we cherish those who are celebrated. Cheers to you. May you have a long, successful, happy life. Happy birthday. I wish for you another 100 of these days. But on another note, are you seriously delighted and over the moon that the same husband that belittled you and your special day got you a bouquet of flowers with a card that had 3 sentences? When strangers on the internet wanted to make sure that you felt loved on your birthday, and your whole-ass husband got you a bouquet of flowers with a card that, according to what you wrote, didn't even acknowledge your day. Little bit of a red flag. I agree. Although I don't want to rain on the OP's parade because I'm glad she feels loved. She should. She sounds awesome. That being said, flowers and a social media post is the bare minimum for somebody who needs their birthday to be acknowledged. I came from a similar background, feeling ignored on special occasions. And it took me until my mid-30s to realize that I had to tell my partner exactly what I wanted on my birthday and Valentine's Day. Now I'm like, this occasion is really important to me. Even if you don't totally get it, it doesn't have to be expensive, but I would like a gift, flowers, and a special dinner together. In my current relationship, I told my current partner that long in advance of our special occasions, so he had a clear understanding of how to make me feel loved. As it turns out, when you're in a happy partnership, you want to make each other happy, and so he gives me exactly what I asked for, and then some. This year he drew me a bath, brought me French cheeses and wine while cooking me dinner. As a result of my clear communication, he now feels comfortable communicating his needs so I can give him love in a way that's all about him. It's okay to have that need, and to ask for it to be met. I'm glad the OP's partner came through with flowers and a card and a social media post. But if he's around for the next birthday, he can do better. Sometimes we take turns stretching out of our own comfort zone to meet them in theirs. That being said, it's a work in progress, so the flowers and the card are a really good start. Posted by user Personal Confusion, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that the only reason she says money doesn't matter is because we're rich? So I, 48 male, and my wife, 47 female, both have very well-paying jobs. I'm a pediatric doctor and she's an attorney, which have allowed us and our kids, 20 female, 17 male, and 15 male, to have more than a comfortable lifestyle. My wife has a tendency to say things like, money doesn't matter, and that material things don't matter, and she says them all the time, which kinda irks me because she's right, but I was raised in a poor family, and I know that she wouldn't be saying the same thing if we were middle class, but I haven't said anything up until this morning. I had made a comment about needing a better watch, and my wife was saying her usual, money doesn't matter. I told her that she was only saying that because we're rich, and because she has never experienced being without money in any sense. Predictably, she got upset with me, and now I'm wondering if perhaps I overreacted and went too far. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I might have overreacted and went too far, making things worse just because of a saying. I just don't see how you overreacted in this situation. This seems like a normal thing that you would say to a life partner, and you know them, you can read them, you should know what their reaction to these things are going to be. If they're a particularly volatile person, and you know that saying things like this to them are going to piss them off and throw them over the edge, then that's a them problem, but that's also a you problem, and you're an a-hole for doing that if you intentionally do that. But in this situation, it sounds like she's not like that. And this doesn't sound like an overreaction at all, it's kind of just a little bit of a disagreement. She may view the world through rose-colored glasses, and that's her prerogative, but it's always good to have more compassion for those that don't have money. And realize that, like Kanye said, having money's not everything, not having it is. It seems like she has and continues to have a privileged lifestyle, and while that's all well and good, the sayings don't ring true. To a lot of people, money very much does matter, and to a lot of people, material things very much do matter to them. It's all well and good that she doesn't perceive them to matter to her, but I can see why it would annoy you, but I don't think that it was an overreaction. So for this one, I'm going to go with not the a-hole. Oh, okay then, 666 says, not the a-hole. People who have always had money seem to be delusional about it. Money absolutely does matter when you're poor. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I don't hate rich people, but they're definitely naive about their privilege a lot. It gets annoying when you grow up not having what you needed or wanted because of poverty. It's also why I could never be super intimate with someone who grew up wealthy. It feels like they'll never understand. For real, had a debate on here a while back because some guy was saying it's simple to get money and that poor people are just lazy. His advice? Invest. Like bro, we literally have no money. We are one paycheck away from being homeless. Loads of well-off people seem to think we're just bad with money or lazy when we're stuck in a system designed to keep us poor. Extortionate rent, tax on everything, loans to get educated, extremely competitive job opportunities. That reminds me of a debate that I had with a guy who said, they're probably poor because they live in an area with high rent, and they should just move. And I tried to explain, moving costs money they don't have. And their response was, just move your own boxes. Oh my god. Tia Calypso says, not the a-hole, but your wife is only an a-hole very gently. It's difficult to understand and accept your privilege when you've grown up with it. I once said something akin to, money doesn't matter, or money doesn't buy happiness to a friend, and got a proper lecture by the friend. It went somewhat like this. You only say money doesn't matter because you have it. It buys you a good university, nice holidays, and good care altogether. These are things that make you happy or happier that you buy with the money that you say doesn't matter. I think it's always been easy to understand the correlation between money and happiness, but people use the money isn't everything excuse as sort of virtue signal to show that they don't need it, or they're just as well off without it. Not saying this is how Opie's wife is using it, but like he said, people who already have money are the ones who say this the most, and wouldn't understand how wrong that seems until they're broke. No a-holes here. Info. Can you be clearer about what sort of context she's saying this in? Because it could be either really offensive or really not. For example, when you made a comment about needing a better watch, was she suggesting that you shouldn't be reluctant to spend the money on a better watch? That you should have been satisfied with the watch you have? That she'd be happy to buy you one? And OP replies, be satisfied with the watch, yes. So couldn't that be construed as her being less materialistic and you being more? The watch really doesn't work, but you could say that. I can understand why the phrase was provoking to you, but I don't think she meant it the way you took it, and I think you probably know that. No a-holes here. I think he was ready to be angry, and is taking it a whole different way. This story is confusing because the wife is the one talking about being frugal. Weird. Yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle. Opie might be technically the a-hole, but I'm giving him a pass, due mainly to my own confusion. His wife is probably sitting at her desk right now trying to solve the same puzzle. Posted by user 303367. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my wife her daughter's address so she could see the newborn? Hear me out, please. I'm a 46-year-old father who lost a daughter, Molly, years ago to brain cancer. Molly's death broke me. She was my only child, and I'm no longer who I was before this tragedy. I married my wife when my stepdaughter, Sarah, was 15. Sarah had issues with her mum. Her mum would kick her out over small arguments. She kicked her out over getting a haircut, for failing one class, and other reasons. Every time she'd bring her back home and tell her to learn her lesson or she'd be kicked out. One time her mum kicked her out over a diary at 17, and Sarah had enough and didn't return. She started working. I remained in contact, I just couldn't let her struggle. I tried to help her financially, but she refused. She's incredibly independent and a hard-working person. She reminded me of Molly. I decided to help in other ways. I got her a better job opportunity by calling someone I knew at the time. This way she still had to work to earn money, which is something she wanted, and also work at a better job that appreciated her more than the previous job. She's an artist. She wanted to be a graphic designer, so I sold my old car to pay for her courses. She started paying me back bit by bit, only because she's independent. She lived with her then boyfriend, now husband, and paid for other things. My wife didn't try to mend things. She disowned Sarah the day she got married, but stood firm and told her that I'm free to talk to Sarah and she should respect that. I attend gatherings with Sarah from time to time, and she calls me dad in front of other people. In the past, it was just my name. This sounds crazy, but I believe this all happened just so I could meet Sarah and have a chance at being the best father that I could be. She's now 22 and just had a baby girl a few weeks ago. I visited several times and we talked. She told me that it was unfortunate that she lost her dad, but was glad that she has me in her life. I cried, although I'm not good at expressing emotions, and it got worse after Molly's death. My wife knew about the baby and demanded I give her the address so she could go see her granddaughter. I refused because Sarah asked me not to tell, and because she's already dealing with postpartum and will not be able to deal with her mum's behavior. My wife threw a fit and said that this is her daughter and grandbaby, and I shouldn't try to stop her from seeing her. She called me selfish and cruel. The argument didn't stop. The family are agreeing with her and telling me to stay out of it. I argued with my wife about it again, and she said I had no right and that I needed to give her the address. She didn't even seem regretful or wanted to apologize. Everyone is blaming me, telling me I'm being cruel, and demanding I give her the address. And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I'm an a-hole for refusing to give my wife the address and let her meet her granddaughter, but I don't think this is my decision to make. Well, yeah, I don't think it's your decision to make. Sarah did say that she didn't want you to say anything earlier in this paragraph, and you gave us plenty of reason to be on Sarah's side for this one. Why would you now turn on her and her wishes? That really doesn't make any sense to me, and, you're not an a-hole for standing by that. If anything, I feel like this is the only thing you can do. Otherwise, yeah, you would be an a-hole if you did tell her. But standing your ground, yes, you're going to get some backfire from her. Yes, she's going to put up a fit and she's going to scream. But she burned that bridge so long ago. She doesn't deserve anything she's asking for, so you shouldn't tell her. And for that, I'm going to go with not the a-hole. And in the comments, quote, I refused because Sarah asked me not to tell, end quote. It begins and ends there. You are honoring Sarah's wishes. You would be a huge a-hole to do otherwise. As it stands, you are the opposite of a huge a-hole. You're a wonderful father. Congratulations on the birth of your granddaughter. May she be a light in your life that reminds you of your Molly, not the a-hole. And OP replies, you're right, that's not my decision, but they're telling me I was the one driving a wedge in the family. Truth is, I'm not trying to lose Sarah's trust, and there are boundaries that I cannot overstep. The one who drove a wedge in the family was the one who disowned her daughter. The rest of the family have a problem with me and see this as an opportunity to put the blame on me for what happened. I used to care in the past about what they say, but not anymore. After everything I've already lost, losing them is in fact a blessing. The problem here is that it sounds like your wife is making this a, oh, poor me and my situation, wah, and basically does nothing but make you look like the bad guy here and poisons them against you. That's super toxic behavior and all sorts of yikes, and the fact that they're listening to her is also concerning. I was surprised after finding out that he'd stay with someone who would kick out their daughter because she had a diary at 17, and then disown her later. Dr. Burnsy says, not the a-hole. In the kindest way I can muster, get a divorce. Agree, divorce the wife, keep the daughter. Then what will the wife have? Answer, nothing. It's a harsh truth, but truth nonetheless. It's her bed that she made. And Miss Murderpants says, not the a-hole. She's going to boundary stomp all over her daughter. Don't let her. Please make sure she can't follow you or track the daughter down. Personally, I'd rethink the marriage. And seriously, you let her kick out her underage daughter. That's really awful. I'm glad you're making it up to her now. And don't you dare ever tell anyone not approved by the daughter to know how to find her. Posted by user, It's Britney Betches, titled, Am I the a-hole for cutting my hair after a friend's death, despite a contract that dictates what I'm allowed to do or not do with my hair? So I have quote-unquote lost my job and have been ostracized by my family, so I figured I'd come to the court of public opinion. One of my best friends of over 10 years lost her battle to the big C word on Christmas. F cancer, y'all. I'm not handling it well, to be honest. I feel like a really crazy person. I literally haven't stopped crying. Through all the tumultuous emotions, I decided that I wanted to cut my hair. I don't know why, but I felt like I wanted to get rid of a psychological weight, and my hair was suffocating me. I model, and I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. My family is upper middle class due to my income. My parents work as my managers, even though I had actual hired experienced managers throughout the years. My dad works part-time elsewhere, but I am the main breadwinner in the family. Part of my current contract was that I can't cut my hair without prior consent from managing parties, or else my contract could be rendered void. It wasn't really an issue until now. For a week, I tried to get consent, but nobody wanted to give it. So, over the weekend, I locked myself in my bathroom and chopped off almost all of my hair. I didn't go as extreme as 2007 Britney, but I was definitely channeling her energy. Now I look like Steve from Stranger Things. I don't feel a lot better, but it was kind of cathartic. I'm glad I did it. My life changed and I physically reflect that now. Now I'm unemployed though, because I was released from my contract, and as soon as I'm done with high school, my family wants me gone. I know that I jeopardized my family's financial security, and my parents are scrambling to figure out how to pay the bills because I may have been an immature a-hole, but I don't know. Maybe it's grief. But I feel pretty apathetic about it. I wanted to grieve in my own way. Am I the a-hole for that? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think that I might be an a-hole because I only considered my feelings before breaking my contract instead of my family's larger financial future. I made a unilateral decision despite the fact that the effects would be felt by more than just me. At the end of the day, it's your body and it's your life and it's whatever the hell you want to do with it. I don't think that you can particularly be held accountable because, it's kind of your career to be dealing with here. And the fact that they hinged their entire financial security on your modeling career is, if that's all they're going for, and there's no situations where they're unemployed right now and this is just a spike in the road and the parents can get a job in the future and support themselves like they should be doing, if it's just you being the main financial breadwinner and they have no plans of working and just relying on you, that's pathetic. I think that's very pathetic of the parents, and that's an unrealistic expectation of you to have that on everyone else. Why should you, at such a young age, be expected to be the breadwinner for your entire family? That, has put you in a situation like this. And so much as a haircut makes you feel so much better about yourself. It's kind of telling about the situation that you're in. So yeah, I'm going on about a bunch of what-about-isms, but I feel like my gut feeling is correct on this one, and I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. Mama La says, not the a-hole, it's your hair. Also, get a lawyer. Your parents should have been saving money in an account for you. They should have lived off of their portion of the income and saved quite a bit of yours. When you leave, you shouldn't be leaving with nothing. Plus, hair grows back. Get a cute cut and new management. This is why a child should not be the money earner in a family, in my opinion. It's a dependency that should not be created. And OP replies, I have access to nothing, so I'm not sure how to get a lawyer. They say that my money isn't mine. I only got a few comments already, and I'm already starting to think that my parents are shady for using my money. I think I can get a new contract though. The company that offered my contract sent me a sorry to see you go. Here is some industry contacts, email. So at least that bridge isn't completely burnt. As for my family, even my extended family wants nothing to do with me. My aunt told my mum to kick me out now instead of waiting till I'm 18 and done with school. Well, that's illegal. You need to look up lawyers in your area ASAP. Your parents' actions could affect you for years because of random things like how they claimed you on their taxes. Tossed Avocado says, not the a-hole. Though I will warn you that violating contract can and will put you in bad standing with management companies, and people who cannot follow contract or are difficult don't usually get worked with. Yes, it is your hair and your body, but I'm going with not the a-hole because you are a minor, and I don't think you have fully consented to a lot of this. Just remember, with modeling, they want certain looks, and that's why they put it in contract. Now for some info that I think you need. Your parents are probably in violation of the Jackie Coogan law, or are about to be. By law, 15% of your income was to be set aside where it can be monitored, but not accessed, by anyone until you turn 18, which is why they may be waiting to kick you out, because if they have been following that law, there is probably a rather large sum of money just sitting right now. You actually have the ability to get legal recourse. I'm not a lawyer, but this is what I recommend. 1. Contact CPS. Inform them you're a minor child actor/model and believe that you are being financially abused and that your parents have been violating the Jackie Coogan law. Google it and cite it specifically. Cite your parents may also be in violation of child labor laws as well. 2. Report this all to a school official as well. They are mandated reporters. If they scoff or try to convince you otherwise, state specifically, you're a mandated reporter. I'm informing you of financial child abuse. By law, you are required to make a report. 3. Request a court-appointed guardian ad litem and request a fact-finding for your income and child labor work be performed. 4. Contact your previous management company, or companies, that you were just let go from and request all your financial records, copies of contracts, statements of work, etc. By law, they must provide them to you. And 5. Do not allow them to send those to your parents, and do not tell them what you are doing. Have them either emailed to you directly, mailed to someone you trust, or request they print them and pick them up yourself. I know this may be scary, but you aren't without help or legal recourse. You can also contact your local government and request legal assistance yourself. Just Google your state and legal assistance. But do this now. Things can change when you turn 18, and doing this now gets the ball rolling and will hopefully keep them from accessing your funds that are probably there. And your parents are so in the wrong for doing this to you. As a parent, I can't imagine anyone's parents doing this. But sadly, in the entertainment industry, it's by far the norm. And it's disgusting. And in the post, OP offers us an update. So I talked to a few folks today, and I was sent a copy of the email exchanges that ultimately ended my contract. My contract was set to expire in June, but I wasn't booking until May to give myself time to finish up my last semester in high school. Instead of terminating my contract or firing me, I was released from my contract in a really nice way. I won't copy and paste, but the gist is, here at company, we value the health and safety of all our employees, and it seems that Brittany is going through a hard time. Let's release her from her responsibility so she can enjoy school, and should she decide to come back after high school or freshman year of college, she'll be welcomed back into the agency. They even sent a .pdf of therapists or counselors that I might want to talk to. I talked to my old manager, and she set me up in a contract with a lawyer and already has access to copies of my documents, which she sent me in .pdf too. I also contacted Jasmine's mum, who said that I can move in to finish high school if I'm kicked out in March. I'm not going to say much, but what my parents were doing was definitely illegal, unless I have trusts, which I doubt because my parents both have nice new cars and stuff. I also emailed my school guidance counselor. I have a new email contact, and I'll be sent my financial records ASAP. So yeah, posting this morning, I honestly felt like an ungrateful, whiny teen who screwed over her family. But you guys made me realize that my life is definitely not normal or fair, and I thank you all for that. And for the immeasurably kind words you've all given me. I'll keep fighting. And our last post is by user Deleted, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not telling my family which one of my children is biologically mine?" So I have 2 kids, Clark and Kent. While they have the same father, only one of them is biologically my child. They were born within 6 months of each other. The boys are currently 6, and for various reasons, I have full custody of both of them. I didn't speak to anyone in my family for several years, and we got back in touch in 2019. Due to the boys' ages, my family knows that I couldn't have carried both, unless I have the gestation period of a hamster or the longest labor ever. I've explained to them how this all came to be, but in my explanation, I neglected to tell them which was my biological child's. Due to my ex having a type, the other women looked enough like me that the boys could pass for twins. Same dark hair, blue eyes, pale skin, and both cleft chims and dimples. My brother jokes that they look like tiny supermen. People who know them refer to them as twins because aside from a few minor differences, they're practically identical. Frankly, if they were closer in age, and I'd had full custody of both from the time they were born, I suspect I would have mixed them up a lot as babies. Shortly before Clark's birthday last year, my mum asked if she could see Clark's birth certificate. I asked why, and she said she wanted to know the exact time he was born. So I told her. She asked if she could see the certificate anyway. I asked why. She said she just wanted to check. I said I'm his mother. I know when he was born. Then she asked the same thing about Kent, and we went through the same conversation all over again. Mum eventually admitted that she just wanted to see the birth mother's name on each certificate, which isn't even how that works, and I told her as much. This led to an argument where my stance was that I'm their mother. Biology is irrelevant. Mum says if biology is irrelevant, then it's not a big deal to tell her which of them is biologically mine. I said if she's so hung up on biology, then clearly it's a big deal to her, and I don't want it to be a big deal. Especially as the boys themselves don't know. Mum feels this is incredibly selfish, narcissistic, and overall wrong. She feels that if biology isn't such a big issue, then I should have no problem telling her whether Clark or Kent is my biological son, and that accusing her of favoritism or something similar with her bio-grandchild is an unfair judgment with no actual reasoning to it. My boyfriend agrees that I shouldn't tell anyone, or at least until my sons have decided for themselves if they want to know, and want other people to know. But my entire family agree with Mum that I'm being unreasonably selfish, and that my actions are now more likely to cause issues than my mum's potential actions later. Am I in the wrong? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. 1. I've not even given Mum a chance to prove me right or wrong, I'm just assuming her intentions based on my suspicion. 2. It's probably better that my family decide what they're doing now when the boys are young and not so attached, versus letting this come out potentially years down the line. 3. It could be argued that my family have a right to know which child is biologically related to them and which isn't, and they genuinely cannot tell based solely on Clark and Kent's appearances. 4. The situation is causing my family a lot of undue stress and upset, all of which would be resolved if I told the truth that has to come out eventually anyway. And 5, in general, I just feel it would be cleaner to let it come out now versus later. I'm feeling a disconnect about why they would be so pissed off not knowing who the biological child is. Like, I've never in my life thought of a situation where if someone held the fact that one of their 2 kids is not biologically theirs and wouldn't tell me that, I would just get irrationally pissed off over time and be like, which one is it? Where's the goddamn child? Which one is the goddamn child? Why won't you let me know? Why won't you let me know which one the child is? It just seems like theatre acting levels of drama that she's thinking is going to happen here. Or maybe they're imposing theatre levels of drama on her. I don't get the logic of being so pissed off about not knowing who's genetically yours or not. Why is this an issue? Why are you making this an issue for yourself, family? If she doesn't want to tell you, she doesn't have to tell you. Why do you need to keep pushing the issue? This seems like something that could lead someone to cutting a family off. And to address some of the points that OP gave there, I guess you're assuming her intention based on your own suspicions, but isn't that okay? Maybe when people give off certain vibes, it's okay to assume their intentions? Why would it be better that your family decide what they're doing now when the boys are young and not so attached? Why can't they just be rational people and not be judgmental of who is biologically yours and who isn't? It could be argued that your family have a right to know, but it could also be argued that they don't because that's your private life and they could judge the other child that's not yours based on that fact. The situation shouldn't be causing your family a lot of undue stress and upset. This is just a whirlpool of shit that they're stirring themselves. And in the process, they're tasting it, which is not good. That's causing them even more stress and upset. And in general, maybe it would be cleaner to let it come out now, but you don't know the repercussions of it coming out now and them deciding they're going to cut one of the kids off emotionally. Oh yeah, you're not blood related, so you're not one of us, ha ha ha. It's sad that people like that exist in this world. But yeah, that's my little waffle that I've gone on. I'm gonna say not the a-hole. In the comments, Wind River 7 says, not the a-hole. If she ever finds out, your mother will favour the biological grandchild, otherwise, it wouldn't matter to her who was on the birth certificate. Agreed. I'd be cautious to ensure she doesn't take a swab to their mouth when mum isn't looking. If mum isn't close enough to know, 1, when her daughter gave birth, and 2, what she named her baby, then I hope that mum isn't around them long enough to secretly swab them. This was my comment as well. Somehow OP spent 9 months pregnant, gave birth to a child, another kid entered her life, and her mum doesn't know which one is which. I want to know why OP was no contact with her family while all of this was happening, because I suspect a-holishness on the part of the family. Gemels4 says, not the a-hole, totally and completely. You know she's going to make a big deal out of it the way that she's pestered you and getting the family to be her flying monkeys. I sincerely hope you have their birth certificates locked up tight in a safe or safety deposit box so she cannot say she accidentally came across it. Would she resort to contacting your ex? Would he tell her? If you're cordial with him, or at least if he's a little bit reasonable, would it be a good idea to give him a heads up that your mum is pushing hard to know which boy is yours biologically and you don't want her to know? And OP replies, we're not cordial and he's not reasonable, but he's completely uncontactable to my whole family, including me. Truthfully, even if she could contact him, I doubt he'd even remember which son is biologically mine because he barely even knows their names and birthdays and hasn't seen them since they were both under a year old. And Angel Islington says, so not the a-hole. You're Clark and Kent's, great aliases by the way, mother. You love them equally. They are your sons and no matter the circumstances, you are an awesome mum. And who cares about biology? When, to quote the great philosophers John, Paul, George, and Ringo, all you need is love. You love your boys, and it's all they need. So tell your mum to mind her own business. And OP replies, my brother's Superman comments really stuck with me. Unfortunately, it looks like they're Marvel fans, so you can't win them all, lol. I completely agree with your view. The way I see it is that I'm their mother, they're my sons. We're a happy family, and little details beyond that don't matter. I just don't know why my mum is so hung up on it. Reading over the comments, you've really got the situation sorted. You talk to experts, the boys know what they need to know, and you will never hide the truth from them. Honestly, you have no idea how much I admire and respect you. Your boys are so lucky to have a mum like you. You really got everything covered, and the fact that from the get-go, you were aware of how it could affect your son's emotions, you were their mum, and they are your babies. Though 2 6-year-olds, I bet life is never dull. You have no idea, lol. I have 6 years of anecdotal proof that there's no such thing as quiet time. I had them both full-time without their dad from when they were both under a year old too. So it's just been manic for pushing 6 years. Boyfriend's been a huge help though. He's been in their lives since they were tiny and always supported me. I couldn't have done it without him. Thank you. Truthfully, my one goal here is not to screw them up, lol, but I don't know what I would have done without them both. Biological or not, they're my boys, and I love them more than anything. Couldn't imagine life without them, or even without one of them. Posted by user, Took My Kids, Am I the A-Hole? Titled, Am I the A-Hole for moving after winning full custody of my sons? So my wife and I got a divorce last year. Our relationship failed after she was charged with felony credit card fraud and ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge. She had been a stay-at-home mum to our 2 sons, 5 and 3, and had taken credit cards out in my mum's name to pay for God knows what. She shattered my trust. I work full-time and make a decent living, but nothing extravagant. I had no clue what my wife was doing until cops showed up at my door with a warrant and took my wife away in cuffs and took 2 laptops as evidence. When I got the full story, I filed for divorce immediately. Aside from being a criminal, she was a good mom. She tried to justify what she did by saying she was just doing what was best for our kids, which I felt was total BS, given that she never mentioned wanting for anything, and any time she asked to spend on something, I almost always said yes. I hired a good lawyer and asked for full custody of my kids. My ex begged me not to do that, saying she needed her kids, but she was still looking at up to a year in jail, and nothing her lawyer said could sway the judge to grant her anything more than supervised visitation. She ended up doing 90 days in jail, paying some fines and restitution, but I've allowed her to see our sons almost every time she's asked. The last year has been total hell, but we've made it work. A few months ago, I was offered a much more lucrative position a few states away. I talked with my lawyer about what it would mean if I moved and what the process was. He said that since I have full custody, I have to file a petition with the court to move. So I told my wife what I wanted to do, and she exploded. She claimed I was stealing her kids from her, that she's made a lot of strides to get herself to a better place, and that she would fight me tooth and nail for her kids. Well, I filed the petition, got the go-ahead from the courts, and accepted the job. When the judge gave his ruling, my wife burst into tears and began sobbing. It was heartbreaking. I know in my head that I'm doing the right thing for my sons. They are young enough that a move like this won't be too traumatic, but I also feel like their lives have already been completely overturned, and I'm just adding more to that. As for my wife, she's a wreck. She's been begging me to reconsider the move, trying everything from guilt trips to manipulation to bargaining. It's like she's going through the stages of grief, but from my point of view, she did this to herself. She lied and broke the law. I have very little sympathy for her. I know at some point she will probably try to file for partial custody, and I'm prepared for that. For now, I'm just trying to do what's best for me and my sons. Does that make me an a-hole? Edit. Thank you to everyone who commented, even the ones who called me a heartless a-hole for taking my sons away from their mother. This post has given me a lot of perspective, and I appreciate that. A couple of things I want to clear up that I keep getting asked about that I wasn't able to include in my original post. 1. The area my sons and I live in is a smaller community. Not everyone knows everyone small, but close. The crime my ex committed was news here. It was in the paper. People know about it. I get weird looks when I'm out in public. People have stopped inviting my sons to birthday parties, and I don't want my sons to be bullied and teased in school about their mother being a criminal. 2. I'm not going to permanently alienate my sons from their mother. I will make sure they're able to talk and FaceTime with her whenever they want. I will be the one who makes the drive back in order for them to see her until she's able to make arrangements to allow her to do so. I will continue to work with my ex to make sure she is included in things like birthdays and holidays. 3. I know my sons and I will all need therapy from this. There is no good mental health available where my previous job is. My new job offers on-site childcare, and I will have access to counseling and therapy for myself and my sons that we would not have access to without moving. The schools near my new job are head and shoulders above the ones near my previous job. 4. If my ex gets her life back on track and is able to move closer to us, I'm all for it. If she does the things she needs to in order to petition for shared custody, I don't intend on fighting her for that. But until she does that, I will not allow her anything more than the supervised visits ruled by the court. I will also not ask for any of the court-ordered child support. We won't need it. And 5. To all the people who screamed, "But she's their mother," yes, and she always will be. And I remind my sons daily that their mum loves them very much, and that she wishes she can be with them like before. I am angry and resentful of my wife, but I work very, very hard to not let any of those feelings impact my sons and their relationship with their mum. After all of that, extra information you've added, I find it so hard to give you anything but a not the a-hole judgment. You seem to be doing the very best for your kids, and I respect that so much, and I want you to keep doing that, and keep being strong for them. That's where I start and end my judgment for this one. You've given me more than enough reason to believe you, and respect your reasonings for everything. So yeah, not the a-hole. Jessica Jones 2 says, "This is tough. The divorce and getting full custody? Fully deserved, not the a-hole on that account. Moving to another part of the country where she'll have no contact with them, I'm not so sold on this. I think that you're still in pain and resent her, and rightfully so. But I'm not sure this is the best you can do regarding your children's relationship with their mother. Does she have any possibility of getting a job, of moving, or is she a financial mess as well, and what are her living conditions like now? Have you gone to therapy? Let me be clear, she did what she did, and she's been held accountable for it. You've got a right to move from a legal perspective, but moving, when you know she can't do the same, will massively screw her relationship with your children, and it will only lead to more anger, resentment, and pain." Edit, based on further comments from OP, not the a-hole on all accounts. As has been pointed out, he's got a financial responsibility over his kids now, as his ex isn't paying child support. All I suggest is that the relationship between mother and kids still be allowed, as far as the law is involved / allowing, with FaceTime or whatever means are possible, because further isolation won't be healthy for the kids either, in my opinion. And OP replies, "I don't know her full financial situation. I know she's working a couple part-time jobs and has a small 2-bedroom apartment. Whether or not she could move, I don't know. She's under probation, so she'd need to apply to move anyway. My new job pays over twice what my previous did. It's a huge opportunity for me to provide a better life for my sons. I don't want to sit around here and wait for my ex to get her crap together." Info. How are you going to maintain your son's relationship with their mother? Does she pay child support? If you alienate them from her, they will resent you. She may eventually be able to go back to court with a parental alienation claim. I'm reserving judgment. And OP replies, "I haven't put too much thought into that part yet, but I do not intend on completely isolating them from her. If she can figure out a way to see them, I will not prevent that. I imagine holidays will be something we need to figure out as well. But like I said, I do not intend on preventing her from seeing her sons. She's court-ordered to pay child support, but so far, I haven't seen a dime and I haven't asked. You may need to think of it. If she's on probation, she may not be able to come to you, and frankly, I'm not sure she'll be able to afford to travel to you anyway, as she was a stay-at-home mum. I'm not saying that you aren't doing what's best for your kids, but I feel like you're just screwing your ex because you are hurt, angry, and sad. All totally valid feelings about the situation, and using your sons in the process. So I'm going with everyone sucks here, except your sons." And OP replies, I will admit that part of me wants to move so that I can get a fresh start as well. The last year has been total hell for me. I'm trying to not use my kids as pawns here, but I know this job can offer us opportunities that my current job just can't match. And now on to the update. I got a lot of people asking for an update on this situation, and since a few things have changed, I figured I would go for it. I did end up taking the new job and moved with my sons. We've been settling into our new lives quite nicely over the last month, and things have been going really well. My sons love the new house, they've made friends with some other kids their age in the neighborhood. My job has been going really well, and I really couldn't have hoped for things to go better than they have. I got both of my sons into a great therapy program, and the three of us have also been doing counseling sessions together. My boys have been adjusting amazingly well, and I'm so happy and proud of how they've handled this. We've also made 2 trips back to see their mother, since she's still in the process of figuring out what she will be allowed to do in relation to her probation. We've also been doing many video calls a week with her, and my sons still don't understand why their mum isn't here with us, but they do seem to grasp that this is going to be their new normal. In comparison with how well myself and my sons are adjusting, my ex is the complete opposite. She is still very angry with me and thinks I'm a complete a-hole. She's frustrated with the process of going through the courts to be allowed to move. She's frustrated that I'm not willing to drive our sons back to see her as often as she'd like. And she feels she's being marginalized in their lives and that I'm pulling them away from her. When she was complaining about all of this during our last visit, I reminded her that all of those things are consequences of her own actions, and she blew up at me, saying I'm kicking her when she's already down, and I didn't need to take her sons away from her. I told her how well our sons are doing and how happy they are, and she should be proud of how strong and resilient they've been. She then started begging me to please move back so that she can be closer because she's not sure the courts will allow her to move, and the process is taking too long. I told her that wasn't going to happen, but if there is anything I can do with the court process, then I would be willing to help if I can. I reminded her that I haven't said anything about her not paying the court-ordered child support, but that our boys seem to be in a much better place already, and I'm not going to take that away from them. Every time we have a video call with her, as soon as she says goodbye to our sons, she starts asking me to consider moving back home. I tell her every time that is not happening. I'm not a robot, and I do feel bad to see her so desperate and distraught, but when I look at my sons playing and laughing with their new friends, I know I've done the right thing, no matter the cost to my ex. And in the comments, Prince West asks, I asked this on the original post, but did your ex ever come clean about where the untraceable cash payments went towards? That's still a big thing that should bug you when it comes to trust with your kids. Encourage her to get therapy, and please pressure her into coming clean about that money, and get her to show evidence so she's telling the truth. She's made some vague statements about paying cash for designer clothes, other high-price items, but still not enough to account for all of it, and I still take most of what she tells me with a large grain of salt. That's concerning. Hopefully, through counseling, she might be able to get the courage to open up and admit to where the rest of that money, your mum's money, went. This might just be me being paranoid, but if you don't believe she's telling you the whole truth, you might need to hold off on letting your kids see her if she gets the approval to move. That money could have gone to anything. Have you for sure ruled out drug abuse or an affair? I don't even know if a designer brand would even allow you to pay in cash. You said it was a small town. Did you have a legit retailer nearby in the first place? Otherwise, she'd have to put it on a prepaid visa, then use that to order stuff online. She passed every drug test she was given, and it's pretty difficult to hide an affair in a town the size of the one we lived in without someone eventually spilling the news all over town. There's also gambling addiction. Eats up a lot of money with nothing to show for it. I reminded her that I hadn't said anything about her not paying the court-ordered child support. How did she end up on the hook for paying child support, given her status? It's a token amount based on her income. With my higher salary, I don't need her to help to provide for our kids, but she hasn't made an effort to pay anything yet either. She's going to blame you when they take her tax refund, lol. She already blames me for a lot of things. We'll just add that one to the list. Just want to piggyback and say if she's not making an effort to pay child support in any way, likely no court would give her partial custody anyways. She's not showing she can support kids in any minimal capacity. Also, my father raised my sister and I alone, but courts ruled for 50-50 custody because you can't separate kids from their mother. BS. Both mums and dads can be incapable of being a parent. Her fraud history and subsequent emotional breakdown, as it seems, definitely puts her in the category of not being responsible enough for custody's sake. Keep up the good work. You sound like a good father. Yes, reading the "but she's their mother" comments in the original thread, along with what the extended family was saying, is BS. Being a parent doesn't automatically mean you're a good one. So many stories here where OPs are definitely not the a-hole, but feel massive guilt cutting ties or setting boundaries with crappy family members. Most because they've been told family is everything. They raised you, and this is how you repay them? It's so deeply ingrained that you struggle to see yourself as an individual with your own needs. And I think that's where I'm going to leave that post. I think we've gotten enough out of it. I think we can understand where the OP stands and where his ex stands on this one. Do you guys think it's fair that he's just cutting ties and moving away like that? Or do you think that the mother has a point and she should be able to see her kids more? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to see your answers and takes on this one. Posted by user FunComputer6668. Titled, "Would I be the a-hole if I tell my fiancé he cannot use my savings for his student debt?" Some background info. I grew up in an Asian family in Asia with the mentality that my parents would take care of me and I would take care of them when they grow older. Because of this mentality, there is no such thing as separate finances in my household. My fiancé grew up in an Asian family in America and doesn't really have such mentality growing up. Last night, I was going over my bank statement and my fiancé accidentally saw the amount of money that I have in my savings. He was so excited when he told me that I can use that money to help him pay for the remaining student loan that he has. I told him I can't do that. That money belongs to my family. My parents and I. Well, he didn't understand, so I told him that the reason I was able to save up was because there's a mutual understanding between my parents and I. I went to a state school near my house, so I didn't have any student loans, and when I got my job, I still stayed with my parents. My parents would still pay for the rent, utilities, food and such. I would then save up 2/3 of my salary every month, and I also helped out with car insurance and other expenses if needed. Even though the money is in my account, I considered it as my family's savings. He told me that he's also my family now, and I should use it to help him out a little. I told him that I need to ask my parents, and even if they agreed, I can only help out a portion, but not all. He blew up, saying I was selfish and that this is America. He and I should be a unit, not my parents and I. This is a place where I think I would be an a-hole, because technically we're not married yet, and as for now, I don't think he can just demand it. Besides, even if we're married, I don't think he's entitled to my family's savings. It's simply not his money. Would I be the a-hole to tell him my thinking on this subject? Personally, I think it's pretty telling that he sees that money and just straight up assumes that you're going to pay for his student loan debts. Even if I was in that situation as him, I'd be like, cool, you got money, you're well set up, but this is my debt to pay off, and I've accumulated it. It's my responsibility. It's no one else's to pay it off. That's some real smooth brain thinking from this guy. He's like a koala. He can only eat eucalyptus leaves if they're on a tree, and if he sees them on the floor, he's just going to starve to death because his brain can't comprehend anything but that. I would genuinely question the marriage from this point forward if he expects you to pay off his student loans. Even, removing the fact that it's your parents and your money, the fact that he wants you to pay his student loans off is ridiculous. I'm offended on your behalf. It doesn't matter if asking your parents or not, they'll probably say the same thing. So for this one, I'm going with not the a-hole. Stand your ground. Edit. Thank you for all your responses. Some people asked if he's the man I want to marry, and frankly, I'm thinking about the same thing nowadays. When we were dating, I told him up front about my family dynamics, and he told me he understood. He knew I had some money saved up and put aside, he just didn't know how much. He just completely changed after the engagement. I honestly don't know what happened to him. Edit 2, thanks for all your support. Some people asked if my parents had a retirement plan, and the answer is yes. However, considering how we moved to America less than 10 years ago, his retirement plan cannot actually support both my parents. My fiancé and I currently live with my parents, and my parents didn't ask him to contribute to any household expense because they considered him as part of the family. We didn't ask him to save his money or anything though, he can do whatever with his money. That's why it's really shocked me when he didn't consider my parents as part of our family. I'm rethinking about our whole relationship now. And edit 3, I know the notion of putting money aside for your parents sounds odd. Let me be a bit clearer. My parents never think that the money is theirs alone. I can use it freely if I want to. It's for the future, and if I choose to use it for his debt, they wouldn't mind as long as I discuss with them. They would even use their own savings to help out if needed. If he asked and discussed it with my family and me instead of berating me, I'm confident that we could work something out. And in the comments, Jabber in Blue Jeans says, the two of you have wildly different perspectives about money and neither of them are wrong. But you need to have a serious conversation and come to an agreement about it before you get married, because this is the sort of thing that will tear you apart. No a-holes here. On the one hand, I agree. On the other hand, the way the fiancé reacted to this difference and jumped to shaming OP has me side-eyeing him and thinking he's a bit of an a-hole. I agree he is an a-hole about this. I just imagined him having this money eyes expression when he saw the amount of money in OP's account. Not the a-hole. If it's a significant sum of money, you should also see a lawyer about drawing up a prenup and keep that family money separate from your joint accounts after marriage. Or turn it over to your parents' accounts before you get married. This is very good advice. Should you keep the money in your account under your name, it could be determined to be a marital asset. It would be best to separate the money out so that your future husband cannot access it without your knowledge. And not the a-hole. Just because you're in a relationship with someone does not allow them to dictate your finances. Fiancé can't see an amount of money and be like, woo, student loans paid off. Y'all aren't married yet. Although, if you want to marry this person, talk about finances now. Lay out the rules and listen to what they expect fiscally as well. Hash this out before you get married. They aren't even married yet. He saw the amount of money in her shared account and immediately said, mine. Three's a crowd. He cannot expect OP to give him money out of a shared account on a whim. He was already aware about her family dynamics and agreed to respect it, and now he's going back on his word? The money is from an agreement OP and her family made. Her parents are entitled to these funds as well. I just want to point out how fiancé argues that he's family, so OP should pay the rest of his loans, and yet simultaneously disapproves of her dynamic, in which she must support her family. Yes, OP is in America, but some families still hold on to their culture. Fiancé isn't even satisfied with OP contributing to part of his loans, he wants the entire thing to be paid by OP. And now on to the update. Thank you all for your responses and judgments. It made me realize we had some differences, and I had a long talk with him. Long story short, we broke up. He told me he only wanted to marry me because he saw my savings statement way earlier, and thought that I would share it with him. He moved back to his family. This happened weeks ago, but I just wanted times to feel like myself again, so I was delaying the update post. Thank you again. Quote, he told me he only wanted to marry me because he saw my savings statement way earlier and thought I would share it with him. End quote. I hope you're aware he only said this to hurt you because you were dumping him. It's almost certainly untrue. He wants you to feel unattractive. He wants to damage you by saying this. All it shows is that breaking up has made him angry and he needs to lash out. He had a lot of emotional investment in you, which contradicts his statement. Good luck, and know that your future will be much better without him and in partnership with some other man. Very much this. It's like when a guy comes onto you and you reject him and he can't handle the rejection and tries to turn it around by saying, "Fine, I'd never be with an ugly tramp like you anyway," even though minutes earlier he was practically salivating over you. OP, he's trying to hurt you and preserve his own ego. But it's a lie. While it may be a bit too soon for you to consider yourself lucky to have dodged this particular bullet, please don't ever doubt that you deserve better than this, and try not to take his cruel lies to heart. This is exactly what I was thinking. He's going to throw every insult and degrading thing he can think of because he is hurting. That doesn't excuse his behavior. Just goes to show his maturity level is not beyond that of a child throwing a fit when they don't get their way. Nunabusa says, "I dated and became engaged to a mooching loser many years ago. And if there is anything I can suggest is that, now you are free of him, work on your self-esteem. There are good partners out there, but you won't attract them until you value and protect yourself more." And Judge Janice says, "It was the right thing to do, but I know it must be really painful to readjust all your plans. You deserve someone better, and I'm sure you will find them. Concentrate on you for now. Also, buy some chocolate. Chocolate never lets you down. Good wishes for a beautiful future." Posted by user Throwaway862610. Titled, "Am I the a-hole for being frustrated that my girlfriend doesn't work hard at her job and gets paid nearly twice as much as I do?" So my girlfriend and I both work in tech. She's a safety validator for software, working at a consulting firm, and I'm doing network infrastructure support. When we both worked in different offices, I didn't know much about her day-to-day life at work. I knew she made a lot more than me, $120K to my $66K, and she credits a lot of that to job hopping. She's 25 and has had 3 full-time jobs since college. I've been at one place since college. But since we've been working from home, I've seen a lot of her daily schedule, and hers versus mine are really different. She gets up at 9:15 to drag herself into the home office for her 9:30 to 10 daily meeting. After the meeting, she goes and showers and has breakfast from about 10 to 10:45, answering a few Slack messages and emails on her phone, but mostly just listening to podcasts and eating and doing her morning routine. Then she works till noon and takes a lunch break from noon till 1. Then she works from 1 to 4, often having meetings or working on her own stuff. And at 4 will spend an hour or so doing household chores and stuff while keeping an eye on her phone to answer emails. And outside of 9 to 5, she blocks work-related messages from her phone. So basically, she actually works about 4.5 hours daily and does her own thing for about 2 hours, just paying enough attention to reply to emails that come in. I basically work non-stop 8:30 to 5 or 6 p.m, working 8.5 to 9.5 hours a day. I don't take breaks in the workday to shower or eat breakfast and lunch or do household chores. And a few weeks ago, I got kind of frustrated with her for basically hardly doing anything for her job at all, and that they were overpaying her if she was spending half the day slacking. She got frustrated with me and said that they hired her for her knowledge and it wasn't my place to say what her time was worth. That if the boss and CEO saw the work she produced and chose to pay her what they chose to pay her, that it wasn't my place to undervalue her because I was being jealous. And that she picked her job instead of one that might pay better because she wanted a good work-life balance. She was sick of wasting her life away at work that was a lot more demanding. I said that she was being a little privileged. Not a lot of people can just choose to make 6 figures and wander off from work for practically half the day, and that all I was saying was that she was working half as hard as a lot of people who earn a lot less. She got mad at me and said that it's not up to me to decide what her time is worth. Am I the a-hole for what I said about my girlfriend's work ethic? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I got frustrated with how my girlfriend is acting really lazy about work and is getting paid a lot regardless, and said that I thought she might not deserve what she's being paid. She got mad and said it wasn't my place to talk about what she deserves in terms of pay. I have to agree with her sentiment there, and I know you're salty about that, and I know you think she doesn't deserve to be paid that much, but she is getting paid that much, and her employers continue to have her there, so it's obvious to them that she deserves that money for what she does. It's obviously worth their time. If you're upset about that, go and find a job like that yourself. Why would you want to tear her down from that if you don't feel like she deserves it? Sure, it's okay to have tiffs like this with your significant other, but why? It kind of seems like you're trying to stop her from having this lifestyle because you're jealous of it. Do you really want to tear her down because she's found a lifestyle and work balance that works for her? It could be an entirely different field, something that you don't understand, and just because she's not doing the work that you feel like she should be doing, you want to go and stop her. That doesn't sound like a great relationship you have with her there. That may just be cherry picking, that's fair enough, but what you're doing right now, it's really unnecessary and uncalled for. I'm gonna go with you're the a-hole. And in the comments, MadPiglet42 says, you're the a-hole. Sounds like you're jealous. Not a good look. If she performs her job duties to the satisfaction of her superiors, and they pay her to do that, then her work ethic has nothing to do with it. It sounds to me like she got lucky as hell and landed the dream job, and you're big mad because you have to bust your ass for less money. That has nothing to do with your girlfriend and her work ethic. Get over it. Aren't they supposed to be on the same team? He should be proud of her, happy for her. Instead, he sees it as a competition. That's really ugly, OP. You're the a-hole. RawSugar87 says, you're the a-hole and you do sound jealous. What is even the point of you mentioning any of this to her? Are you trying to make her feel bad? There's no point. The OP is finally discovering that workplace compensation has no connection to how hard anyone works, or how vital that work is. It's all about how a company chooses to value specific skill sets. And he's taking out his, wait, you mean life isn't fair, and there isn't a direct link between compensation and effort? Angst on someone who doesn't deserve it. He's the a-hole. Yep. I'm sure a migrant worker would look at OP's day and 66k salary and think he's a lazy bum who doesn't deserve that much money for sitting at a desk all day. Unfortunately, in this weird world we've created, how much money you make has basically nothing to do with how hard you work. Maybe OP should take some advice from his live-in source of information of strategic job hopping if he's not happy where he is. And Giant Brown Guy says, you're the a-hole. She's using the system to her advantage. Work smarter, not harder. It's also 100% in line with the best career advice I've ever got, which is that you want to get to the point where you're being paid for your knowledge, not your time. It's really helped me conceptualize the work I do and what I'm looking for. It was told to me by a woman who gets flown across the country and put up in fancy hotels to consult and gets paid. I don't even want to know what per day. It's entirely fine if you're in a job where you're being paid to have your butt in a chair and do things for 9 hours a day, but there's another level of career where they don't give an F how much you work because your expertise is so valuable. Posted by user Beneficial Poetry 74, titled, Am I the a-hole for ruining my child's gender reveal? Myself, 27 male, and my wife, 27 female, are having a boy. We already have a girl who is now 2. My wife is really into films, Oscar-type films, and she's like an analyzer when watching them, so she wanted to make a gender reveal short film, 10 minutes long, to say we're having a girl. Kind of weird, but I went along with it. We posted it, and she was super happy with it, but it cost so much. She hired expensive cameras, we drove out to scenic areas for the right shots, I'm working full-time during this process, exhausting. So we just found out that we're having a boy, and she started writing a script. I thought there's no effing way I'm doing that again, so I posted on Facebook, "We're having a boy." She's pissed at me, telling me to delete it, but the damage is done. I don't feel bad. I saved us at least £4,000. What I don't get is why she's just making films about gender reveals. She can write a script about anything and not be on a strict 6 to 7 month time limit. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. Because I ruined my wife's gender reveal and she's angry at me about it. The issue here is the lack of communication and people making unilateral decisions on something where it should be both of you guys doing it together. You somewhat set a precedent by agreeing to the first film, therefore it's like you should agree to the second one because you agreed to the first. That logic doesn't completely follow, but that would be where she's coming from because she's so passionate, and she would just assume that you're going to continue, supporting that passion, and that's fair. This may have been an everyone sucks here judgment if not for the £4,000 price tag. The average couple cannot, justify an expense like that for something that is just a gender reveal. Fair enough that you don't want to go ahead with the second one when the first one was already such a toll on your entire life. That's fine. But I think you slipped up a little bit when you didn't come to a consensus with her on how you're going to do the gender reveal. I feel like you're a little bit of a dick for posting on Facebook without discussing it with her first. That shouldn't have been a unilateral decision. But because I myself don't care too much for gender reveals personally, it's a bit of a biased one, I'm just going to go with not the a-hole, because at the end of the day it's really not a big deal to me. Maybe to other people it is, who knows? So yeah, not the a-hole. Be Super Good says, not the a-hole. Maybe not a popular opinion, but £4,000 is ridiculous, and so are gender reveals in general. I'm gonna have to side with you on this one. Kids are becoming treated like gods or something. I don't understand the whole thing of having a big party to announce the gender of a baby, especially when the baby may grow up and decide that they're the wrong gender or species. Not the a-hole. I actually think what you did is kind of funny. Good for you. I had 2 babies and made phone calls when I learned their genders. Imagine that! Calling the people who need to know and not making it a red carpet event. What a concept! Helen790 says, everyone sucks here. $4,000 could have gone into a savings account for the kid's future. Instead, she wants to make a video announcing what genitals the baby has. That's ridiculous, but communicating is kinda super important in relationships. Agreed. They should have talked about this and compromised. Instead, OP did what he wanted and disregarded his wife's feelings. Obviously, the gender reveal is important to her, but £4,000 is a lot. Everyone sucks here. I don't agree with this reasoning, and I don't understand the focus of the reason behind the decision to make the video. My wife is really into films, Oscar-type films, and she's like an analyzer when watching them, so she wanted to make a gender reveal short film. Notice how the wife's interests directly drive the reason she wants to create the video? It sounds like she has a blast writing, directing, and performing these activities, and I don't understand why that would be a bad thing. You shouldn't dismiss someone's interests just because you disagree with the subject. The wife has an interest and passion for creating and performing, and she found an opportunity surrounding an exciting event in her life. Furthermore, she creates a long-lasting, meaningful piece of performative art that she gets to reflect fondly upon and create memories with. If the husband has an issue with the time requirement or the cost, he can bring those up with his wife and they can compromise. His approach robbed her of the opportunity to do something she was excited of, and it is absolutely an a-hole move. Firm, you're the a-hole. It's at the very least everyone sucks here. If he's an a-hole for not telling her he doesn't want to spend the time and money on a gender reveal film, she's just as much of an a-hole for deciding on such an expense without discussing it with him first. $4K is something you spend on a family vacation, not a hobby project. Both of them need to communicate better. I've seen this posted several times, but where exactly does it say that she failed to communicate? During her first pregnancy, she expressed interest and that husband went along with it. which I assume means agreement. During her second pregnancy, she began to plan with the existing precedent being that all parties were in agreement. Nothing she did was permanent, cost any money, or involved the husband's time at this point, which means if the husband disagrees with the precedent and doesn't wish to repeat an activity they previously engaged in, he should bring it up. If she had already spent money or his time, then I might have agreed, but we're firmly in no-cost territory as far as I can tell. I also think people are focusing a lot on the money and projecting their own financial status onto their judgment. If my partner wanted to do a 4K gender reveal, passionate hobby or not, I would be seriously questioning their mental state. That would be absurd for us. But if we had the money, it's a whole different conversation. OP mentions he thinks that gender reveals does not hold 4K value, but not what 4K is worth to them. Yeah, I think, personally, given this new information and perspective from people, I think I can change mine to between everyone sucks here and you're the a-hole for that. Obviously, I'd need to know more about what 4K means to them, and maybe a little bit more information about their life to make a better judgment. That initial not the a-hole was just from a surface level, my initial thoughts on it, but going deeper into it, it does seem in a territory between everyone sucks here and you're the a-hole. Posted by user, Am I the A-hole Skin? Titled, Am I the A-hole for hiding my girlfriend's skincare? Basically, I hid my girlfriend's skincare collection. I was planning on throwing it all away until she freaked out about it. My girlfriend has had a sort of obsessive hobby with buying skincare since before me, and it's only gotten worse since we started dating. Dating about 4 years, we're both 23 now. She picks up extra shifts on the weekend just to afford the newest, most interesting products. At first I was supportive of her hobby, whatever makes her happy I guess. But lately I've been struggling to understand why she buys these things. We have separate bathrooms, and in every single drawer is another toner, cleanser, or exfoliant. She's in school to become a dermatologist, but seriously, I don't know anyone in school with this much of a collection. I've tried for months to tell her this isn't healthy and she needs help. But she tells me because she pays the bills in our apartment and for my food and other hobbies, she's allowed to do whatever she wants with her extra money. But to me, it's completely wasteful. She's already gorgeous with incredibly lovely, pillow-soft skin with not a single scar. She literally has the best skin everywhere on her body. It's like she's been effing airbrushed. This doesn't matter to her though, as she's always having packages show up and new additions to her collection. Here's where I think I messed up. My girlfriend spends about 12 hours in a double shift at work, and after she left, I decided to load all of her skincare in multiple black trash bags and just put them in my truck. I wasn't going to go crazy and just throw them away. I know this stuff is worth $3,000 to $4,000. Some of this crap is literally in effing boxes. I just wanted to try to show her she didn't need any of it. When she came home at around 12 AM exhausted and just wanted to wash her face, she has to. All of her products were missing, obviously. She immediately came to me in almost hysterics about how everything is gone and she thinks we were robbed. I told her we weren't, and that she doesn't need all of this stuff because she's beautiful already. I told her I took it away. Didn't say where, because she doesn't need all this garbage. Within seconds, her mood changed and she wouldn't even look at me. She took her blankets to the couch and slept there, crying. She was being so dramatic, I decided to just get the stuff from my truck. I brought the bags in and dumped them on the floor, and she started sobbing. She said some of them were gifts from her father that passed away, and she thought she would never get to see them again. He apparently wasn't good at gift giving, but he knew this passion of hers. Yeah. Am I the a-hole? I literally gave her the stuff back, and I don't believe her dad would have just suddenly give her gifts. As she said in the past, he struggles with buying gifts. I really don't want to lose her. I want to marry her. She's the most beautiful woman and kind soul I've ever met. If she's the most beautiful woman and kind soul you've ever met, then you should never be able to justify doing this to her. Apart from the fact that it's worth $3,000 to $4,000, if you knew her better, you would have known that her dad gifted her this stuff. You would have asked more about it. You would have been, in the know with this. I don't know how your brain justified this being a good test to her, to show her that she doesn't need it. It's literally her biggest hobby, and it's her occupation. How much more reason do you need to have as much product as you want? It's not hurting you, and it's not hurting her. You've just got this stupid idea in your head that it's a bad thing. Beauty product bad. Get rid of it. Genuinely, given your actions in this, and how you didn't actually comfort her after you brought it back inside, you don't deserve to be with this woman, I'm sorry. You don't deserve it. She doesn't need you in her life. No normal, rational person could ever justify doing this to someone. You're the a-hole. Edit. A lot of people have been calling me a troll because my girlfriend's family has unusual beliefs about how men should stay at home. I don't know how to explain that's how she was raised. Also, the fact I didn't know what a studio apartment was. Geez. Sorry, not knowing what apartment styles are is worthy of all you effing ridiculing my life as a joke and a troll. F off. Edit 2. I've seen a lot of comments claiming my girlfriend has a lot of money, so why does she have to work? Newsflash, a-holes. Not everyone spends the money they have. Plus, she isn't in medical school full-time. She's doing studies, she does apprenticeships, but isn't in a full-blown John Hopkins. Edit 3. We broke up and she's blocked me on everything. Mad Piglet 42 says, "You're the a-hole, and what the hell is wrong with you? How on earth did you think that this was anything like a good idea? It's her stuff. You have separate bathrooms, so it's not like it's encroaching on your space. Leave her stuff alone, man. This is a hobby that doesn't really affect you in any way. So why on earth do you care what she does with her skin and her money? I hope she uses this little episode as motivation to dump you and find an actual man who will respect her and her things. Not only all that you said, she pays for all the bills, buys all the food, and supports his hobbies. Kick him to the curb. He contributes nothing financially, and I have my doubts about him contributing anything emotionally positive." Lance123 says, "You're the a-hole. Let me get this straight. You decided that her collection, from which she derives pleasure and which isn't hurting anyone, a collection that also applies to the field in which she's training no less, was unnecessary, and decided in your infinite wisdom to get rid of. This woman not only paid for this harmless collection herself, but also, by your own admission, pays for everything in your house and your hobbies. How in the HE double hockey sticks could you possibly think this was a good idea? It sounds like you need to grow up. If I were her, I'd be keeping the skincare products and seriously consider throwing you out instead. Then she gets another bathroom for her stuff and can find a partner who respects her and her things." Posted by user Beef with the Gay Lasers. Titled, "Am I the a-hole for not joining in on my town's search party for a missing 18-year-old girl, even though it got me a school suspension? I used to be very close friends with this girl. We're more of acquaintances now, but we still stay in touch sometimes. Her mum reported her as a missing person all over town and on the town's community pages of Facebook. The police post included that she's not been seen since she left voluntarily from her mother's residence. I texted her, asking if she's seen the news, and apparently she hasn't. I told her about how she's been reported as a missing person, and that everyone is looking for you. She said that she cut contact with her mum and has her own apartment now, and that she made it clear to her mum that she was leaving. I told her that we should let the police know that you're safe so they can call off the search. The next day or so, after getting that information from my friend, we went to the police station to call off the search party since it was a mistake that she was missing. She explained to them about how she moved away from her mum, so she was never actually missing. Later that day, I saw some update posts from the police on Facebook and some other posts that she was discovered to be safe, and that there was some confusion about whether she was actually missing or not. Well, People in the comments got upset that she wasn't brought back home to her mum, so now they're all doing their own individual search party to look for this 18-year-old girl. I told everyone in the comments that I know her and that she made it clear to her mum that she was moving out and that I saw her at her apartment the other day perfectly fine. Then I got a bunch of comments coming back at me saying I should be ashamed of myself and that a child her age is not capable of being out on her own and that I should give them her apartment address. What are they going to do? Break down her door? Even at school, staff have been saying things to me here and there about how I should knock some sense into my friend. My friend and I are still in high school. I think it's weird they're all talking to me behind her back as if she doesn't know what she's doing. And then another thing is that her mum posted a comment under the police report saying, just to give some advice to parents out there, please, please, please keep some sort of tracking device on your kids' phones that will track them even if the phone is turned off. I wish to God I would have done that one on my kid, even though her daughter left willingly. I told everyone that, but I got more replies of, you don't know if she really did. Someone could have influenced her to leave her mum. It gets worse. I got an in-school suspension. A suspension that lasts 2 to 3 days, but I stay in a reflection room all day long because I was helping and encouraging a runaway. How does that even relate to what I do in school? Her being away from home doesn't have anything to do with me, other than that I'm friends with her and know about her situation and respect her decisions. I'm still not going to give up because I believe that I'm not in the wrong here, but now everyone is against me. They're not being helpful either because the school principals keep pulling her out of class to talk to her. And edits because a lot of people asked, I live in the US. Kinda seems like you're just being bullied by everyone here for something that it's a non-situation. There's no situation going on here at all. You know where she is. But why is everyone agreeing with putting tracking devices on her phones and having to know where she lives so they can go berate her and put her back in a home that she doesn't want to live in, that she's willingly walked out of and said, Mom, I'm going, I'm 18 now, bye. What backwards head-ass logic are you using here as a collective? This is just where group and mob mentality comes in on Facebook especially, where everyone just finds one opinion that's popular and they're all just like, yeah, let's all just dogpile on this one, that's cool. Yeah, let's get her address, let's show up at her house and bully her and say, hey, you shouldn't be living here by yourself, you need to be in the guardianship of your own mum. That's hip, that's cool, that's a normal thing to do, right? Yeah, I totally wouldn't be scared if I was this 18-year-old who people are openly trying to find my address so they can pressure me. That's normal. OP is doing a good job of protecting the friends. They're tanking this in-school suspension, which I don't think they should be doing. They should be, protesting that. They should not be doing it. They have no grounds to be doing this to OP. I just think this is a ridiculous situation all round. Not the a-hole, of course. Bluebell435 says, not the a-hole. You should challenge this suspension with your school and the school board. You can call lawyers to ask for advice. You may find one willing to give a free consultation. Your friend is an adult, and unless there are laws where you live that give guardianship of 18-year-olds who are still in high school to their parents, no one has any business telling your friends where to live. I'm wondering where the OP's parents are in this because this school is overstepping its bounds. The OP's friend is an adult. Her friend's mum sounds controlling. OP and the friend went to the police and the police stepped back. OP's parents need to fight the school on this because OP did nothing wrong. Honestly, this sounds like Jehovah's Witness or Mormons. Of course the school would be involved. That's a massive overstep. My mother is as mainstream as they come, and she pulled a similar stunt when I left home at 18 because she was an abusive hag. My assumption is based on how the community and the school are acting in conjunction with this. Exactly what I thought. Sounds like it's either a super small town or religion is involved. Tenebris Alta says, definitely not the a-hole. I don't understand how everyone is somehow blaming you. You literally helped more than anyone else in this story. You located the girl, made sure she was safe, realized that she hadn't been missing, then you both informed the police so they could let everyone know that the girl wasn't missing after all and is safe. To me, it sounds like the girl's parents are overly controlling and have convinced their friends and the school staff of a different story. One where you're helping hide a runaway. As far as the suspension, I'd contact your school board immediately regarding that, because there's so much wrong with that I barely know where to start. First off, even if their accusations were true that you were encouraging a runaway, which clearly isn't the case, you can't be punished for things that both happened outside of the school property and doesn't have any effect on the school. Second, you can't be suspended for the actions of another student, plain and simple. They can get in legal trouble for this, so if they want to get all huffy about that, a quick mention that you'll get a free consultation with a lawyer and run it by them should shut the school staff up. And third, since they gave you a suspension for encouraging a runaway, that's going to be permanently noted on your record. That right there is both slander and defamation of character. Both illegal and can have some serious consequences for the school and the staff that put that on record. Basically, not only are you not the a-hole, but you also have a fairly solid case for legal action to be taking against the school and the staff that are, as far as the law would see it, harassing you. I will say I'm no lawyer, but I do have a few family members who are lawyers, so I'm somewhat familiar with how things work. And yeah, I can say for sure a lawyer would love to have this case because it's what they'd call an open and shut case, meaning very easy to win. Posted by user I'mABanana41, titled, Am I the a-hole for causing a scene after my friend said the gift was from her and not me? My friend Cece and I decided to do a joint gift for my best friend Ali. We are all in our teens, think 14 to 15. Anyway, over the past few months I've been working on Ali's gift. I'd regularly call Cece up to see if she could help out with things like packaging or picking small things out for Ali. She'd always say she was busy and hang up. I managed to finish Ali's gift on time, and when it came to her birthday, we gave the gift in school, at lunch. I handed it to her and gave her the card. Originally on the card it said from me since I had done everything. Little did I know, Cece had then took it and written her name on it and rubbed mine out. When Ali read it, she gave Cece a hug, then showed the presents and said to everyone, "Look what Cece did." Everyone started to compliment her, saying how the present was so well done and how did she find the time for it. Cece smiled smugly and then just went on about how she had to put aside time for the present, but it was so worth it seeing how happy Ali was. I lost it. I'm a very emotional person, and this just pushed me over the edge. I started screaming at how I'd spent ages trying to ask Cece to help, yet she never did. How I'd spent months on it, and she hadn't checked up once. Everyone went quiet, and Cece was fuming. I started crying and left. Ali followed me and hugged me, and she said she knew that it was me who did that, but let Cece have her moments. I was pissed, very pissed. Cece actually admitted that she didn't do it all, and that I did most of it after all of her friends asked her about it. They all texted me saying that they were sorry, but that I was an a-hole for causing such a scene and ruining Ali's birthday. I know Ali doesn't mind. Cece's ignoring me, but Reddit, am I the a-hole? I can see why you might think you're the a-hole in this situation, like you feel like you might have been acting too erratically and yelling and making a scene, but you were really done dirty by Cece, and she deserves to be called out like that. It's all well and good being a very emotional person, and you were pushed over the edge, as you said. Those emotions were flying, and it's understandable that you'd have a reaction like you did. The truth came out in the end. I feel like there was a good resolution there, and I hope that this doesn't come back to bite you with Cece. I don't know what she's like as a person, and I'm just gonna go with not the a-hole. Apricots and Olives says, not the a-hole. Cece is an a-hole, and I'd have been really upset too. Especially if someone had done something as malicious as rubbing my name off of a gift that I spent months preparing. Don't waste any more time with this girl. Sounds like you spoke with Ali when it happened, but did she mention that you upset her or ruined her day like your other friends are saying? This might just be them stirring the pot. Check if Ali's okay, but I wouldn't worry about your other friends. I'm sure something else will happen and this will be old news. And OP replies, Ali's fine. She's a little pissed, but mostly at Cece. I have a feeling something else is going on between them, but I don't know what. Understandably, Ali seems like a good friend. I bet she's just annoyed that Cece would do that to you. I would just stay away from any drama now with Cece. If you get involved, you could end up looking like the bad guy. Hemanucha says, not the a-hole. Keep in mind this kind of thing will continue to happen as you get older, usually at work. A team project will have that one guy who does little to nothing, but he'll soak up the accolades anyway when the project is a success. And OP replies, yes, I have realized that maybe I was a bit extreme, but you see, before I became best friends with Ali, I had possibly the worst year of my life. She kind of lifted me out of that downward spiral, and now I just want to make her see how much it meant to me. I will work on my temper and emotions. Thank you. And Zarain says, not the a-hole. The only one to be allowed to be mad at you is Ali. It was her birthday and her party, so only she can decide whether it was ruined or not. Now you probably could have responded calmer, but at that age, it isn't the easiest to keep your emotions under control. As an adult, that is something you should be able to do though. Maybe some will say that you should have let Cece keep her moments, but this would only encourage her to keep such behavior up. And OP replies, Ali actually isn't mad at me. She's pissed at Cece though, so I don't know what to do about that other than leave it. Moving on from that, OP updates that post and says, update. Well, a bit's happened in the past 10 minutes. Cece actually apologized, which I'm very surprised as she hates admitting she's wrong. She then went on to complain about how much Ali is such a mean friend and didn't deserve my gift, so she took the credit. The entire thing was very confusing, and I ended up blocking her. This post has gotten a lot more attention than I deserve. Thank you strangers for those lovely hugs, and thank you Reddit. I'll have a talk with Ali, and maybe try to get her side of things as well, as Cece's been saying things about me as well. It's extremely messy, I know, but teens, right? And now on to the update. Thank you for all the lovely advice on my post, Redditors. After all of it, I talked to my friends, the ones who messaged me, and told them the full situation. Apparently, Cece had told them that I was planning to blow up on her at the gathering and to just go along with it, but make me feel terrible afterwards. Basically, gaslighting me into thinking that I was wrong for standing up for myself. The whole scene with Ali was very tricky. She said Cece had been saying stuff about me before, but she didn't want to believe it. She actually didn't know what the response was from me and genuinely thought it was from Cece. After she realized she effed up, she felt so embarrassed that she lied to me, which is why she made the "let Cece have her moment" comment. Cece has been ignoring me and won't even look at me. Honestly, I don't even want her to because I don't need her negativity in my life. After realizing how messed up my friend group is, I started talking to others, and it's helped me greatly. I'm no longer best friends with Ali, we're just a little awkward. I'm a little upset that she didn't even realize my own handwriting, and it hurt when she let Cece have the attention, but I'll get over it. I've been controlling my emotions better, breathing exercises, and just overall resisting the urge to scream and cry. So thank you for that, Reddit. I guess that's all you need to know. Thank you so much, Reddit. And here are some comments by Dead Lionheart. It's going to take time to start feeling okay about ending so many friendships, but cutting off these toxic people is for the best. You deserve better friends who put just as much effort and care into the relationship as you do. Glad you've been controlling your emotions better, but remember that it's good to let everything out sometimes. Good luck with everything. And OP replies, I'm honestly fine about cutting the friendships. It's not like I lost anything precious, but thank you. That's some savage maturity right there. I love it. Delays says, glad you decided to give up these toxic relationships, but there's a detail that caught our attention. Don't expect other people to recognize your handwriting. And OP replies, thank you, and I'm definitely not expecting that from people in the future after all of this. When you sign your name on something, always sign in ink right under the text, so it can't be cropped off or look strange if it is. You lost nothing in Cece. She sounds like a mean girl. This is literally high school drama, and I'm glad you're taking it in stride and using it to change your life for the better. And our last comment by JumpyFrogs225 says, this is a wonderful update. Good on you for removing people who hurt you from your circle. I predict Cece's life is only going to get more dramatic and tumultuous as she gets older, especially since she's surrounded herself with others who will encourage and enable her behavior. You leaving that toxicity behind is not only amazing for you, but who knows, maybe in the future, you standing up for yourself could be one of the things that she looks back on as her wake-up call. And OP says, I really hope she does get better. Being alone is one thing, but being alone while surrounded by people is even worse. I guess that's what it felt like being friends with them. And yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave that one. I wonder what you guys think of this situation. Did it turn out the way that you thought it would after reading that first post? Let me know down in the comments. Our next post is by user Little Miss Bunny Woman, titled, Would I be the a-hole if I sent my mother-in-law's racist rants and threats to her boss? So this has been an ongoing incident I posted before about my racist in-laws and my late husband's ashes. I'm 28 female, Vietnamese Canadian. Some background. My husband died from a sudden illness not too long ago. His family was very abusive to him while he grew up, and he had cut them out of his life from before we even met. When he passed away, they refused to even attend the funeral, but showed up to tell me to leave and be racist to me. They've been threatening me for his ashes, and it was my husband's wishes that I keep them. They've been saying terrible things about me to my friends and mutual Facebook friends. Mostly racist ranting and threatening to get a private investigator to find where my house is and steal the ashes. They've made lots of negative comments and posts about me and my ethnicity. I have lots of screenshots from my friends, plus lots of private messages from multiple accounts screaming at me and just being horrible. Well, his biological mother works as a records keeper in a hospital, in a very well-known children's hospital, where they take things like this very seriously. I think I want to send all of this stuff to the hospital's boss and cost her her job. But I don't know if that would be the appropriate approach, and well, I would like to know, would I be an a-hole for doing it? Thank you in advance. I can see why you might think you're the a-hole in this situation, and like people in the comments are gonna say, r/legal advice is probably better territory for this one. But as it stands currently, I don't think you're the a-hole, I think you're looking out for your own back, and I think that these guys are just, too insane for you to be dealing with. Too insane for them to be judged not the a-hole. So for that, they are the a-hole, and you are not the a-hole, at least to me, in this instance. In the comments, Seriously Effed Mind says, not the a-hole, and I'm so sorry for your loss, and that you're experiencing this in its wake. I would contact a lawyer personally, or take this to r/legal advice. There may be an alternative that ultimately achieves the same goal, but while protecting you. And again, I'm so incredibly sorry to hear this. And OP replies, I will post there later tonight. Thank you. User Interesting Elk 2271 says, not the a-hole. Sick kids hospital, I assume. Do it. Seriously, do it. I'm typically against these things, but they are threatening to take your husband's ashes. They even want to find out where you live. Exposing them will be a very good way to stop them, and also, despite what people say, revenge does feel good sometimes, and in this case, you are 100% justified. Do it. And OP replies, I can't say if you were correct about the hospital, saying if you are right or wrong about the hospital, it would just not be okay. Look, I never say go the revenge route, but imagine if there's a Vietnamese kid in the hospital, and she throws slurs at him and he's too afraid to tell his parents. This isn't about revenge. This is about stopping toxic people from hurting others. I believe she doesn't interact with people. To my understanding, she works in records, inputting charts into computers. Do we want to risk it though? There has been a long history of racist people causing a ton of trouble, especially in hospitals. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad OP did it. What if race is mentioned in the charts and the racist intentionally leaves something out and the condition is treated incorrectly? Imagine if the child has a penicillin allergy and OP's mother-in-law doesn't input it into the computer because the kid is Asian. A year later, the kid gets sick and his file is accessed electronically, no penicillin allergy listed, and they give him penicillin to treat the infection. OP, you're potentially saving children from this racist. Go you. 10 out of 10, please update, I hope she loses her job. And Sparky the Shark says, not the a-hole. Employers need to know this kind of thing in order to take action. She should face the consequences of her racism, and maybe she'll learn something from it. Hopefully. There's already an issue of discrimination in the medical field, so, worst case scenario, you're just taking care of a bad apple. And be honest with her boss. Just tell them the full story, and I'm sure they'll understand. Yes, I think I will do it now. I was thinking that if I went down to their level, that would make me an a-hole, but thank you. I don't think you'd be an a-hole to do this, but just know that it will probably escalate their behavior towards you. They will see themselves as the victims, I'm sure they already do, and mother-in-law will now have more time to spend harassing, along with more anger to fuel the flames of their hatred. I think it's a good idea to hold racists accountable for their crappy views, but I want you to know what you might be getting into so you can protect yourself. Based on other comments, I would suggest shutting down your social media and creating new ones, with a name not easily associated, or adjusting the privacy settings so that you cannot be searched or viewed even by friends of friends. Keep everything they sent to you in a file. If things do escalate, get a lawyer involved for a cease and desist. Carries no real legal weight but can scare people off. Or a restraining order. Yes, they may be grieving their son, but that does not give them license to harass and abuse you. And now on to the update. Well, I posted last week asking if I would be an a-hole if I forwarded all the racist things and the threatening emails my late husband's mother was sending me. After a lot of great comments and advice, I decided to do it. Right now, she's been suspended, and I was able to get a restraining order from her. Now, from what I was told, there's an investigation going on about her at work. She was using a work computer to do a lot of the harassment. Her boss and the hospital administration basically made it so easy to get a restraining and no contact order against her. But yeah, I'll let you all know how the situation develops. And in the comments, NotAGirl77 says, you should get a dummy urn and display it front and center in your living room. Maybe put some pictures of your late husband around it. That way, if anyone tries to steal it, they'll be stealing a decoy. They don't know where I live, but yeah, I have a camera in my living room now. I might be wrong, but I thought restraining orders meant they need to know your address to know where they can't go. It might be worth double checking unless you know for certain they don't have that information. Having a camera set up is already a good start in any case. It was just an order to not contact me. English is my second language. Well, in that case, it's called a no contact order in the USA. I'm not sure about Canada. And your English is better than many of my fellow Americans, so no need to apologize, love. It's called an order of protection in Canada. They can't come anywhere near you, usually within 250 meters, and cannot contact you in any way. Typical Management 680 says, your mother-in-law made her racist bed, now she gets to roll around in it. Glad you got a restraining order, friend. Be well. Yes, she also did most of it on her own work computer, I found out. That right there is what's going to really screw her over. That's some good news. You did the right thing. A racist working at a children's hospital likely means some of the children wouldn't get the appropriate care if they're of a race and ethnicity that the racist hates. And this update is gold. I'm going to sound tacky for saying this, but I'm beyond happy that this was the turnout. She couldn't have been any more dumb than she was. I'm glad you're safe now, and things are developing well in your favor. Me too. This has been going on for a long time now. It feels like things are getting free for me. Posted by user Last Kid. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they only have one daughter and she's 6 feet in the ground? This all started when I was 12 years old and my younger sister was 10. Let's call her Abby. Well, Abby started to get sick and no one in the family knew what was going on. I started to be dropped off at my grandparents' as they went to different doctors. I'm not going to go into her illness, but when the doctors figured it out, it was bad. So a lot of time was devoted to my sister. When I was 14, it got worse, and I started to be left at my grandparents' for longer amounts of time. It started with just staying the weekend, and then maybe the whole week. I would bring it up, and they told me that they have to focus on Abby. Soon, I was staying there for months. By the time I was 16, I was basically living there full time. I would maybe see them every other month. If I texted them about the whole thing, the same response was always sent. We need to focus on Abby right now. I'm 19 and Abby has passed away from her illness. Her funeral was 2 weeks ago and I attended through FaceTime. I got a call today from my parents and they wanted to meet up and be family again. I told them that they abandoned one child for another. I am not their child anymore. That they only have one daughter, and she's 6 feet under the ground now. I soon hung up. I've been getting texts calling me an ass, and that I should understand that they needed to focus on Abby and to suck it up, basically. So, am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. For telling my parents that they only have one daughter, and she is 6 feet under the ground since they abandoned me. I can see the logic in that one, and I can't blame you for feeling abandoned in this instance. I'm not going to try and convince you that what you did was wrong, because if it was right in your opinion, and you're still feeling hurt, and there's years of resentment building up, then for you, that was the right thing to do. Were you abandoned? Yes, quite frankly, you were abandoned by them. Thank God you had grandparents that wanted to look after you. I understand that Abby obviously needs time for her to be looked after by your parents, but I feel like there is no reasonable excuse for them to have left the raising of you to your grandparents, especially in such crucial and formative years as 14 to 19. I felt like every year from those years onwards, I was like a different person by the end of it because I was exposed to so many different things and I just changed my thought processes and how I viewed the world. From 14 to 19, you're a completely different person and it feels like they don't know you and your world's apart from them. I feel like this was well deserved. It's probably time to go no contact with them for a while and come back maybe in a few years' time when you've had time to cool off and they've shown that they're willing to improve and be better people. I can't blame you for what you've done, not the a-hole. Redoubtable South in the comments says, not the a-hole. Was it harsh? Yes. Was it deserved? Also yes. While I can sympathize with dealing with a terminally ill child, they still had another child that needed their love and attention too. A child that was losing her little sister. Probably scared and lonely and then effing abandoned for 7 years. Yes, Abby needed them, but you did too, and they failed you miserably, and they failed Abby too, who might have enjoyed a relationship with her sister in the few years she did have to live. This is what I keep coming back to. It's unconscionably cruel to keep 2 siblings from spending time with each other while one is dying. I cannot imagine dying and not being able to have my sister around. This honestly brings tears to me. I mean, I can't really relate. My sister yells at me a lot, but generally, yeah. It's horrible to keep two siblings apart when one is terminally ill, especially for 7 years. Gator Toad says, not the a-hole. As a parent who had a terminally ill child, I made sure that my other kids still knew that I loved them, and even organized people to sit with my child in the hospital while I spent quality time with my other kids. It's hard being a parent knowing that your child is going to die, but you don't ever push away your other kids. I'm so sorry that you were abandoned by your parents, and I'm sending you huge hugs and love right now. You have every right to be angry at them, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, as none of them were in your shoes. Take time to grieve for your sister and your lost relationship, and most importantly, please be kind to yourself, you do matter. And Consistent Leopard 71 says, not the a-hole. While having a seriously ill child is challenging and will often take priority, it doesn't give your parents license to simply send their other child away and stop parenting them. They abandoned you, and now that your sister has passed away, they want to rug sweep their behavior and play happy family. It's completely understandable that you do not want to have a relationship with them. Therapy may be beneficial for you to process losing your entire immediate family. They need to respect your boundaries. Sorry for your loss and good luck. They're treating her like a book they left on the nightstand. Now, 7 years later, they want to pick it up and go, alright, where did I leave off? You can't do that with people. It's also so callous of their relationship with Abby. They were also consumingly concerned with her that they needed to abandon their other child. But a week or so after her death, it's just, I swore we had a replacement one around here. We'll just put that one in and go back to normal. There are 2 parents. Between them, they had the resources to share parenting duties for both kids, and they chose not to. There was no need. It was a choice, and OP isn't their backup child they can boot up whenever they're ready to be a parent again. Posted by user Lavender Loves You. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my father to stop complaining about my mum taking him to an expensive Michelin-starred restaurant? So, my mum works while my father stays at home, and we're decently comfortable. My mum and I are quite close. While my dad is fine with my mum spending her money on investments or vacations, he wasn't when she took us to an expensive restaurant yesterday. My mum had some success with her business, and she wanted to celebrate by taking me to a restaurant I recommended, but didn't suggest or go to force her on it, and the meal costs about $1,000. My mum and I had been excited about the dinner the entire week, and we really enjoyed the food and the atmosphere, but my dad kept complaining through the entire meal about how this is too expensive. He says, Mum gives you, me, everything you want, and that she's spoiling me. My mum explained that though I suggested the restaurant, she wanted to try it out too, and enjoyed it. I can see my mum's annoyed with my dad, but she's too nice to tell him about it. After enduring an hour of complaining, I told my dad he's ruining the day, and my mum is allowed to decide what she wants to spend her money on, and deserve to have a nice dinner when she wants one. My father thinks I disrespected him and his masculinity, and called me an a-hole. He's really mad at me, and stopped talking to me. I'm mad at him too. Am I the a-hole? I'm really sorry if I sound entitled or self-absorbed. This is the last thing I'll say about this whole comfortable versus rich argument. It's a matter of word choice, not denial. Comfortable is a common euphemism in my culture and social circle, and I now realize it has more different meanings, so I'll use words like well off from now on. I'm sorry if this offended anybody. That would be the furthest from my intentions. I'm 100% aware that my mother's income puts us in the top 10%, and we lead an upper middle class lifestyle. Different from income in my opinion. I'm extremely fortunate to be able to live this way, and I don't try to downplay it in the slightest. Just that I described myself in the ways I was taught to growing up. Capitalism is a rigged, problematic system, but that does not change from making me describe myself in words that I'm uncomfortable with. You can call me whatever you want. Please stop trying to make me defend a position I didn't take. For example, capitalist versus socialist, or me trying to hide our wealth. I know that most commenting are great people, and there's lots of interesting perspectives that I learned from. Comment whatever you want, judgments, eat the rich, etc., but I'll stop repeating myself in this thread with the above arguments and information. Again, sorry if any of this is out of touch or comes off as mean, but I'm open to any good-natured debate. Thanks and have a great day. And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. My mum took us to an expensive restaurant, and my dad complains she's spoiling me. I told him he's ruining the day and shouldn't judge what my mum spends her hard-earned money on, and he called me a spoiled brat / a-hole and said I disrespected him. Am I the a-hole? As far as I can tell, when you get married, you're not supposed to make unilateral decisions, and I feel like a bit of context we're missing here is that the dad is complaining that he didn't get a say in going to this expensive restaurant. That's perhaps a slight on the side of the wife, as well as OP, for pushing something that the father didn't want to do. But then at the same time, is this something that shouldn't be a unilateral decision? I'm not quite sure. Depends on just how much money these people are making, and how much the husband and wife, would be cool with spending money like that. If it was the case that the dad didn't agree that this would be a good idea, the wife is an a-hole for that. The dad goes anyway, and then calls OP a spoiled brat and an a-hole, and thinks that they got disrespected. He's an a-hole for doing that. OP saying that he's ruining the day and shouldn't judge the mum on what she spends her hard-earned money on, when this could possibly have been a unilateral decision on the wife's part, the husband doesn't get a say. I don't know, OP, that's a bit cringe. I'm gonna go with you're an a-hole for that one too. This just seems like it was a bad idea to go to this restaurant in the first place. Everyone made slights against each other. Everyone kinda sucks in this situation. I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. Webby Vanderquack says, everyone sucks here. Your mother can spend her money how she likes, sure. But I'm assuming she and your dad share finances to some extent, and you do sound a little spoiled and out of touch. So your dad is probably worried about that. Quote, we're decently comfortable, the meal costs about $1,000, she only has 3 to 5 luxury purses. End quote. Your mother is rich. Edit. I won't link to it, but evidence suggests OP knows her mother is more than comfortable. I will say, I've read most of her responses and they're polite and thoughtful, and in answer to all those who have asked, no, I'm not saying she's an a-hole for having a rich mother. Alexi Lupin says, not the a-hole. He was ruining the meal. If he truly has problems with how your mum spends the money she earns, he should bring up that with her privately like a mature adult, not whine his way through what's supposed to be a celebration. The masculinity comment makes me wonder if he's insecure about not being able to afford things like this himself, and he's just projecting on you. And OP replies, he definitely is insecure about his masculinity. I'm just not sure why he picked this moment to talk about it. He often talks about other people not respecting his masculinity when they've been perfectly nice to him. Well, that's an issue for him to resolve rather than take it out on you or others, which is unfair. Unfortunately, he probably sees emotional self-awareness as non-masculine. Paul Satile says, everyone sucks here. You're an a-hole for this. Quote, my mum is allowed to decide what she wants to spend her money on. End quote. It's not your mum's money. It's both of their money and they should decide together how they spend it. Your dad's an a-hole for complaining the whole time during the dinner. He should have had a conversation with your mum beforehand and went along with whatever they both decided on. I see. The thing is, my dad isn't as mad about the money. He's actually mad that my mum's spending the money on something I want, which she agreed that she wants too. Okay, well then, why make it about the money? Dad, why don't you want me to be happy? Well, lol, that would get in more deep-rooted problems about his childhood trauma and our family dynamic. Reading your post history, it seems your dad's anger issues are much more sinister than this lets on. If this, plus what you've previously described, is accurate, he's more than abusive, and was very likely hung up on the benefit you received from the dinner. I hate that this post has turned more into rich versus comfortable. At a point, there is only so much you can take from someone who is not only violent, but constantly tries to make everyone as bitter and unhappy as he is without seeking help. Doesn't that make the mum an a-hole too, for continuing to expose her child to the abuse? Sounds like OP and mum both need therapy. Posted by user Nopex110. Titled, Am I the a-hole for banning my roommate's girlfriend after she kept insisting I was hitting on her? I, 24 female, am a lesbian living with my good friend, 25 male. I own the apartment. I'm renting out the extra room to him. A little over a month ago, he met a girl online and they started dating. She's now at our place constantly. I'll be honest, I've never really liked her. She was incredibly standoffish and rude to me from the beginning. I eventually learned it was because she thought that I had a thing for my roommate. Even after he told her I was gay, apparently her only argument was, she doesn't look gay. A few weeks ago, we were all drinking and hanging out at our place with a few close friends. I tried to mend fences by pulling the girlfriend aside and telling her that I really am gay. I have no interest in stealing her boyfriend, and I hope we can be friends. She seemed to take this very well, and was overly friendly with me the whole rest of the night. I thought she was just trying to make up for being so cruel at first. The next day, my roommate asked if we could talk. He said his girlfriend feels uncomfortable around me after I drunkenly hit on her. What? I was not even remotely close to being drunk. Also, I am negatively attracted to her, like way less than 0. I find her insanely annoying. I tried to explain that I was just trying to be nice, as I knew she didn't particularly like me. I wanted to be civil if she was going to be around often. My roommate seemed skeptical, but he ultimately took my word for it and chalked it up to a miscommunication. Fast forward a week or so, the friend group is hanging out at our place again. The girlfriend comes over, of course. I'm cordial to her, but I try to keep my distance so another miscommunication doesn't happen. Towards the end of the night, one of our other friends comes up to me like, "Dude, what is going on? Girlfriend keeps telling everyone you've been checking her out and hitting on her all night." Again, I was stunned, and at this point, incredibly pissed off. I went right up to the girlfriend in front of everyone and said, "What the hell's going on? Why are you spewing lies about me hitting on you to all my friends?" She just stared at me, unable to respond. I continued, "Just because I'm gay does not mean I'm into you. Trust me, I am not the least bit interested in you." She started sobbing that I was attacking her for no reason, calling her out, making her super uncomfortable again, etc. I told her to get the hell out, and that she was no longer welcome here for making me feel uncomfortable in my own apartment. Her and my roommate left. Needless to say, my roommate is super pissed at me. He hasn't been back to our place since, but I've gotten some angry texts. I'm standing my ground that she's not welcome here anymore, but he's free to stay or move out as he pleases. Most of our friends are on my side. I guess I could have been easier on her, but I'm just so over it. Edit. Wow, I woke up to tons of notifications. Thanks everyone, and thanks for the awards. Edit 2. I guess I should have added that where I live, the mask and stay-at-home mandates have been lifted for a while. That being said, my friends and I still choose to wear masks and be extremely careful. We do not go out to bars, even though they are fully open. I occasionally have a few close friends over whom I trust to also be careful. No parties. I don't get how anyone landed on that. Hope this clears things up. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I might be the a-hole because I kicked my roommate's girlfriend out pretty abruptly and harshly. Yeah, I can see how causing a scene like that could be, grounds for you being an a-hole, but in this case, she kind of started it. She started the scene and caused everyone to be raucous. If you didn't respond to that, the onus would be on you. So in this situation, you did the right thing. You got the heat off of you and back onto her, and that's admirable. I'm gonna go with a not the a-hole judgment on this one. These guys all seem like they're on the girlfriend's side and not yours. I hope they did apologize to you and come back on your side, but by the way you've done the story, it doesn't seem so. So yeah, not the a-hole. Shoddy Witness says, not the a-hole. Girlfriend is way out of line and needs to be put in her place. It honestly sounds like she's on the verge of trying to pull some gay panic bullcrap. Has roommate had previous girlfriends while you've been living together? If so, I'd point him to your past experiences and remind him that at no point have you ever crossed the line. OP owns the apartment. I'm guessing the girlfriend is acting that way to insist roommate move out and in with her. But does the girlfriend know OP owns the apartment? She might think she can force OP out and move in, if she doesn't know that it's OP's place. That's what I was wondering. Likely, roommate didn't say, this is OP, she owns the apartment. He probably just introduced her as his roommate. Cables for Days says, not the a-hole. You're gay, so her tactic of, I'm uncomfortable because she's hitting on my man, doesn't work. So she had to change angle. She's massively insecure, she needs to get help. Not your problem though. If housemate ever returns, this is something to point out. His new girlfriend is clearly insecure and has to create drama about it. He probably won't listen, but it's worth stating that he shouldn't be surprised when she tries to run off all the females in his life, or insist he cut them off. I'll point out this is massively emotionally abusive behavior too. Tell your roommate to be careful. As a man who's been there with a woman, I will second this. Of course, in my situation, I wasn't close enough to anyone to have her accuse them of that with me, so she just accused me of having feelings for any woman I was close with in my past instead. But yeah, this is definitely emotionally abusive behavior. The roommate's girlfriend won't see it that way, but it definitely is. And Freakish Nightmare says, not the a-hole. She sounds vaguely, or very homophobic, and she really should not enter your apartment at all if she's going to create drama for everyone there. Especially you, as the apartment owner. I feel like as soon as people hear that someone close to them or near them is gay, they automatically think, oh my lord, they got the hots for me because we both have vaginas and boobies. That's not how that works, and it's pretty cringy to think that way. Your roommate is also the a-hole. You do not bite the hand that feeds you and puts a roof over your head, even if you're paying for it. Posted by user Throwaway Kenelsk, titled, Am I the a-hole for evicting my late son's girlfriend from my house? So my late son, 43 male, and I were estranged for a very long time, probably around the time he was 25. Greatly in part because of his on-again, off-again drinking problems. Around 2 years ago, we reconnected. Alcoholism had ravaged his life and his body, and he'd been out of work for close to 8 years. His girlfriend, 45 female, and him had 3 daughters, 10, 8, 3, that he'd never told me about, but the store she was a manager at closed, so now she was out of work too. They were going to get married, but he couldn't afford a ring. They were soon evicted from their apartment and had no place to go. I have a house that I bought in cash 5 years prior, so I let them move into it around a year ago. They offered to pay rent, but after the first 2 months, they said they were swamped with medical bills for my son and still paying their eldest daughter's hospital bills for childhood leukemia. Around that time, my son confessed that he had advanced liver cirrhosis. I tried to get his girlfriend to get him to stop drinking. She would yell at me and sit down and cry when my son was in the middle of vomiting black bile, with his entire body so yellow. She'd ramble on about how she's spent 20 years with him and cannot stop hoping that he'll pull through and they'd get married and be a happy family. I had to stop visiting after that, mostly because soon after their eldest hysterically called me and said that her dad didn't recognize her anymore, and I realized his mind had gone. My son finally died of cirrhosis 2 months ago. His girlfriend started wailing in the hospital and saying a lot of mean things to me and about my son in general, saying she wasted her youth with him and who was going to love her now. The house was falling into disarray as his girlfriends did nothing but cook for her kids and stare aimlessly at job postings. She's cold to me every time I come in, and the kids would be as well. While I feel for her, I always thought my son moving in was a temporary situation, and that's what he agreed to as well. I was thinking of putting the house up for sale for a while now, and in the meantime, my girlfriend's twin brother needed a place to stay when he started his MBA in the fall. He was a property manager in college, so he agreed to get it in optimal condition for buyers. When I had my lawyers send notice to her that I needed her to move out, she called and said that she could not believe I was being so cruel to a single mum. It's been a month, and when I gave her the chance to move again, she said to have some heart and hung up, even though she can't pay rent. I had my lawyers file an eviction complaint and had her served a couple days ago. She called me screeching about how I was an idiot for trying to make room for my girlfriend's twin, and sobbed for saying where would she go with 2 evictions on her record. Am I the a-hole? She's 45 years old and not my responsibility. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I might be the a-hole because I know that my son's girlfriend is still grieving and in bad financial straits, and I may be wrong thinking that she's not my responsibility. I was initially thinking of an everyone sucks here judgment for this one because, she knowingly got herself into a situation with an alcoholic and he didn't change and now she's complaining about that. That's all her actions. She willingly got into this relationship and continued it. That's on her. But, your actions as OP in this situation are just much worse than hers. Way, degrees worse than hers. You didn't know about these kids for the last 10 years that the 10-year-old has been alive. And the way you write the post, it doesn't look like you acknowledge them as your family, as your grandkids. You keep saying they're your son's kids, or this woman's kids. Your son has been dead for all of 2 months, and you're kicking them out now? I can understand you're pissed off that they've been there for 2 years, but they're in such a tragic situation. You're not doing anything for your grandkids either. You're kind of just like, I don't want to deal with you guys anymore. I want you all gone now that my son is dead. I think that's way more incredibly heartless than the treatment that these kids are going through. And at the end of the day, the kids are the biggest losers here because no one wants to support them besides their mother, who's not dealing with life well right now. What if the kids lose that mother? What if this causes that mother to, not be alive anymore? Would potentially be on your hands in this situation, and then you have 3 grandkids to look after. And by the fact that you didn't know they exist, and you continue to not talk about them as your family, it doesn't look like you'd want to look after them. And that's just tragic for those kids. There's just too much going on here for me to sympathize with OP, and I'm gonna have to say you're the a-hole. In the comments, Sosuspi says, "This is a rough situation, and first, I'm sorry for your loss." Quote, "His girlfriend started wailing in the hospital and saying a lot of mean things to me and about my son in general, saying she wasted her youth with him now and who was going to love her now." End quote. She chose to stay with your son for 20 years, knowing he was an alcoholic. She knowingly put herself into this situation by not seeking help or leaving during that time. I think this really sucks, but mostly for your granddaughters. It doesn't seem like you even acknowledge them as part of your family, referring to them as her kids. They are your son's kids too. I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. It's horrible your son died and left your grandkids without a father. It sucks that his girlfriend is struggling to care for them and is being rude and obnoxious instead of being proactive. And it sucks that you, after writing your son off years ago, are not able to realize you have an opportunity to help your family still because you don't acknowledge them because of issues their father had. Everyone sucks here seems like the most reasonable answer here. It sounds like the son and girlfriend were dodging responsibility, covering up, and making excuses for a long time. Meanwhile, letting their kids grow up in a household with a severe alcoholic. I've seen what addicts can do to children, and I also know that you can't force an addict into treatment until they want to go, as one other commenter said. Still, I fault OP for being so callous and detached after his son passed, and for leaving the kids in such a situation. I mean, his oldest granddaughter called, freaking out that her father couldn't even recognize her, and OP's response was to quit visiting. He was probably the most stable person in those kids' lives, and he just noped out when the situation got too bad. OP hadn't talked to their son for over a decade, and had no idea the kids existed. By that point, the kids are effectively Estranged's kids. OP can't be expected to turn on affection and familial feelings on and off like a switch, especially after having to deal with the emotional consequences of what was happening to their son. Kids don't change the decision here, not the a-hole. Spinder Cinder says, 2 months? The ink isn't even dry on his death certificate, and you are kicking out his wife and children. I hope you don't like those kids, because I can guarantee that if you do this, they might never talk to you again. Exactly. Her husband, your son, just died after years of hoping and praying and battling with alcoholism. Just died 2 months ago, and you're putting those kids and your daughter-in-law on the streets. As many others have said, you're the cold-hearted one. You're the a-hole. They weren't married, and she's a 45-year-old woman that can't afford to take care of her kids. How does that make it his problem when they only reconnected 2 years ago, and in that time, they did nothing to better themselves? 2 years and she saved nothing after living rent-free? Makes no sense. Can't afford to take care of her kids. In the USA, when her partner just died of a long-term illness and her child has cancer. Wonder why she's broke. That, plus in a pandemic where many can't get jobs. And AKC Mummy says, not the a-hole. Your late son's girlfriend should be receiving social security for the children and paying rent. Since she's not, she should not expect that you continue to let her stay there. She is not your responsibility. She's a grown woman and needs to take care of herself. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.